a lifestyle. Sports cards and we live now. Jeremy Lee in the building and every guest that you ever needed. Sports cards after hours keep the hobby heated. Updates, hobby talk like you never seen it. Sports cards live and none could ever beat it. Sports cards is a lifestyle. Sports cards and we live now. Welcome to another episode of Sports Cards Live with your host, Jeremy Lee.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode number 313 of Sports Cards Live. It is Saturday night, May the 23rd, 2023. My name is Jeremy Lee. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. I am going to fix up Instagram here. Bear with me just one moment. I forgot one step as I was making my way into the studio because we were watching the hockey game, which is now going into overtime. And that is, come on, Instagram. Let's go, baby. All right, well, we've had no Instagram tonight. All right, guys, welcome to the show. It's Saturday night. Big night in the sports world. And we got a good show tonight. All right, guys, we have a fun show tonight. Tomorrow night, I'm back for the Fanatics Weekly Auction Ending Watch Party. Excited for that. Some great items on there. Guys, Leighton Sheldon's buying vintage collection. Reach out to Leighton at leighton@justcollect.com. He is also not going to be joining us back again tonight, but will be back with us next Saturday. Auctionwire.ai, a proud sponsor here of the channel. Use promo code SCL for 60 days for free trial, a 60-day free trial instead of 30. Mint Inc., guys, is still delivering the ultimate hobby experience from live whatnot streams and auctions to grading, breaking, to full retail stores. They're buying collections. Click the link in the video description below. Use promo code SCL5 to save 5% off your first purchase. You can shop online anytime. They have worldwide shipping. Mint Inc., where collecting comes to life. And guys, the Front Row Card Show is in Pasadena this weekend with 770 tables. You can visit thefrontrowcardshow.com for more show dates and locations. David Chase was there today. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. Guys, grading is expensive. It ties up your time, your money, your assets. Get it right with Mr. Minty, a full line of 100% substance-free pre-grading supplies, preparation and evaluation services, concierge drop-off, and pickup for PSA and BGS, designed to help collectors save time and money in the expensive and lengthy grading process. Meet Mr. Minty in person at various shows around the world. And for more information, go to mrminty.com. Save 25% off products using promo code SCL5. Happy collecting and keep it minty. And guys, check out Chronosio, AI-powered collection assistant that helps you basically scan and list your cards very, very quickly. They have 2 bundles available on Walmart, Amazon, and eBay, and certain hobby stores. And their Cards to Cash bundles come with an hour of one-on-one enablement. I actually have mine scheduled now, I believe, for June the 1st or June the 2nd. So I'll let you guys know more about that after I experience that myself. Guys, collectorinvestorauctions.com. Their May auction was a success. I bought a card. You can check that out. You can see that. We're going to talk more about The Hangover, but you can see that on the first episode of The Hangover. That is live now on the Sports Card Clubhouse channel, podcast, and network. And if you want to sell cards on eBay and skip the hassle, message me directly on Instagram or email me, jeremy@slabsharks.com, and I can help you list your cards for sale on Slab Sharks. This episode also brought to you by Upper Deck, the Sport Card Expo, Inferno Red Technologies, ComC, and Card Ladder, with an affiliate link in the description below. And guys, these episodes are available on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. Follow for free. And if you're enjoying this content, and even if you're not, leave a rating and review. I appreciate it. And huge thanks to all of our loyal viewers and listeners. As always, if you've not yet subscribed, take a moment to do so. Comments and questions will be in play tonight, guys. Let's get to it. Let's bring on our good friend, Mr. David Chase. What is up, buddy?
Good to see you, my friend. How's it going?
It's good. It's good. You know, had a fun day today. Believe it or not, Dave, I have never seen the movie The Sandlot until today.
How can that be? How can you have not seen that until now?
I don't know, but I had never seen it. So interestingly, you know, my son is 7 years old and he plays soccer. He does karate, and there's a kid in his soccer and karate class who's in both of them. And so over the past couple of years, you know, I chat with the dad all the time. His name's Patrick, and he's a realtor. And so he puts on an event every so often. And today he had a fundraising event just outside his Remax office. And there were some games and some hot dogs and that, and a screening of the movie The Sandlot. So I took my little guy. We went and we watched the Sandlot today, and I loved it, man. I enjoyed it. I love that one part where they pull out the never mind seeing the Babe Ruth autograph ball, but they pull out the Hank Aaron rookie card, which is, you know, it was like an Aaron rookie. It was awesome. It was awesome to see. The guy who organizes it, he actually said, "Hey, bring some baseball cards. Some of the parents might want to see them." So I brought a few cards and I was super impressed by how interested these people were in seeing these cards, because I took a 33 Gaudy Babe Ruth with me.
Oh, nice.
I took a Ken Griffey Jr. card that has a piece of the baseball in it to show them, and they really liked it. So that was kind of cool, you know. So
That's very cool. Does that movie make you want a Babe Ruth signed baseball a little bit?
No. It makes me want to on the way home, my little guy, he's like, "Daddy, can we get a baseball glove?" I'm like, "Well, I've got one already, you know, but yeah, we'll go get you a baseball glove." And so we came home, and they were giving away little baseballs in there too. So we came home and we were throwing the baseball around, and yeah, it was fun, man. It's a very nostalgic movie. Like it's a bunch of kids, but boy, was it enjoyable.
Yeah, I think it's one of the best baseball movies of all time.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Really fun movie. So as mentioned, the Hangover. So The Hangover, guys, if you are not yet aware, The Hangover is a new show that I'm producing in association with the regulars here on Sports Cards Live, and we're gonna have various of the regulars come through during various times. There's no real formula for it, but we did the first episode. It was me and David. And that aired on Wednesday is when it was released. We taped it, I think, last Tuesday, and that was a lot of fun, man. I had a blast doing the show. We're gonna record the next one just coming up on Monday. That should drop on Tuesday or Wednesday this week. It depends on the other shows on the Sports Card Clubhouse. But for everyone listening and watching, this is content exclusive to the Sports Card Clubhouse. You can't find this on Sports Cards Live. So if you want to watch it or listen to it, please go subscribe to Sports Card Clubhouse. Make sure you're following the podcast if you haven't yet. But yeah, we had a great time on that, and we have some good ideas. The list is already as long as Chris Hoge's list is for the final hour here as the closer as far as topics go. So, but David, I want to hear about your experience at the Front Row Card Show today in Pasadena, over 700 tables. But I feel like maybe we should go to comments first, because that's going to take a few minutes. So let's go to the comments, guys. See who's oh wow, lots of scrolling for me to get to the top, but we're gonna run through and say hi to Confluence Sports Cards. Welcome, Jacob Dahl. Good to see you. Laura is here as always. Welcome, Laura. Bill Betts, Larry Gitlin, Double O's Card Guy, Saturdays #1 sports card podcast. Thank you, Jesse. Good to see you. Fourth, the game is here. Hockey Cards plus the curmudgeon is back. Yankees fan is here. Way to go. Hey, look who's there. Mr. Mike Petty. Yeah, episode 313, your lucky number. Hockey Cards Plus's house number. Isn't that interesting? Stooks is here. What up, Stooks? Hey, Stooks, did you see the Hangover? Because I showed your card. I think I showed your card on that episode. Stack 5, good evening to you. Ben Burrows is here. What up, Ben? What a week in sports. Absolutely. Good evening to the professor. Orlando is here. Pojak. Oh, Carolina won. Darn it. Carl from Oz. Happy Sunday to you, Carl. Brian, High Pop Professor. Check out the Maddox cards. This guy just got back from Beckett Grading, and I reached out. I said, "How much for the 2 you're making available?" And I just don't know if it's tough. I bought a few cards lately, but some great Maddox available. Hey, follow High Pop Professor if you're not from Maddox. Anyway, what is up, MG? Good to see you, buddy. Welcome to the show. John Iafola, haven't seen you in here for a while. This is a great dealer on the East Coast. Jacob Dahl lets me know again. Pick 6. What up? Willie T. Chris C. Welcome. Double D. Man, I feel like Eminem right now. I'm just rhyming. Here we go. You're watching surfing contest, but listening to some car talk. Atta boy. Way to go. Professor's going to visit Leighton's Just Collect store. Very cool. Great to hear. Let me know how it goes. Wax Pack Wisdom in the house. Good to see you. Check out Wax Pack Wisdom. I've been watching the hit list. Great show. Ballpark Alex in the what up, Ballpark Alex. Jeffrey Clapper is here as well. Oh man, we got everybody. Piper Mac. Sorry, David. Just you keep on waiting there as I say hello to everybody. And you wave along with me. Wave along with me, buddy. You're killing me, Small, says Jesse. Exactly. That's such a good line. Eve Chase in the house. What's going on, Eve? Hello. Hodges gave the video a like. Appreciate that. Wow, no Sandlot till today. I know. Don't at me, as they say. What's up, Rob Star? Good to see you. What else? Brad's Vintage. What's up, Brad? Welcome. E105 is with us. Oh, wow. Adam Deadhead is David. Hey, there. David's his favorite. Way to go. Adam Deadhead in the house. You're going to need to see visual proof, says Chris. Don't know what about, but that's okay. It's good to be where Joe P for Hobby, Prez, Perry, Custom. What's going on? Mookie Chilson is in the house. He says the hangover is already a hit. We're having fun. Oh, and High Pop already sold one of those. The 99 PMG Maddox has been sold. Joe will be joining us about midway through the show tonight, guys. Joe will be here. Don't you worry. He's coming. Absolutely. Found Treasures is here. Shaheen is here. Situational is here. I'm impressed David is on for the first segment. Saw him and his dad busy at the front row show today and didn't even, we're going to hear all about that in just a few moments. Phil Necro fan is here. All right. Well, guys, everybody, welcome. We have a fun show. We got a great featured guest tonight. His name is Jace. He's newish to the hobby, finding his way. It's going to be a fun conversation. I think you guys are going to enjoy that. And then we got Joe Perro. We got Chris McGill. We got Josh Adams joining us on the back end. David, front row card show, over 700 tables. Talk about it. What was that like?
It's crazy because in California, we've been missing card shows for years. You know, I've been hearing everybody talk from the East Coast and different areas of the United States. And I really feel like we've been lacking card shows until like the last year and a half when Front Row has now blown up. We have West Coast Card Show, but Front Row is now on a different level. A year ago, this show had like 200 tables. A fire marshal was called. I waited outside for like 2 hours to get in. They have expanded from one room to another. Now it's like the entire convention center. It's 2 huge rooms, 770 tables. I mean, it's as big as a card show gets. And now, which is the first time I've ever seen, PSA was there, CGC was there, Mike Baker was doing stickers on site. Ash sent his guys there, so they had like the inventory of all inventories that were there. So it's a really crazy show. And the thing that I love about it the most, also, even though I didn't bring my 8-year-old Dylan to the show this time, but I brought him to San Diego last time. This show is meant for kids. They have scavenger hunts. They do like all these crazy things to have kids get involved within the tables. And it's just on a different level of shows that I've seen in California, especially.
How's the selection in terms of sports versus TCG? How is the vibe in the room? How are the dealers finding the day went for them in your conversations? Has anybody recognized you at a card show now that you're on so much content? No, seriously. I mean, you're doing shows with me. You do shows with Greg Midlife on the Clubhouse. You're guesting elsewhere. Did you get anybody kind of say, hey, there's David Chase. I wonder if I can get his autograph.
Oh yeah, they're not asking for my autograph, but I did get a few people that did say things to me. A lot of the dealers, and there are people that ended up coming up to me and just saying that they recognize me, things like that, which is very weird. Just because I've been a lone wolf throughout my entire collecting life, so just for somebody to kind of come up and smile and say nice things to me. I think somebody in the chat said, "Next time, come up to me. I'd love to say hi to you and everything," but. It's a very weird. I know you're used to it, Jeremy, being a superstar of all superstars at every show you go to. But this is literally like the first time that these kind of things have happened where, everybody is just super, super nice and loving and want to talk to you and show them their pickups and things like that. It's just just makes you way more fulfilled when you're walking through a show and it's like you have friends that you didn't even know that you had. It's very cool.
Absolutely. So talk a bit about the vibe in the room today. And again, the selection, like was there lots of TCG in the room? Is it separated? How did you navigate? But I want to hear vibe. I always like hearing people talk about what it felt like and just how the energy was.
The vibe, bro. It was crowded. So the vibe was, I mean, there is a lot of people that is going to that show. I spoke to a lot of dealers. They were crushing it. Like pretty much everyone told me that they were having an amazing day for their first day. And the way that Front Row, they do things is it's all mixed in. And I know that Dan, the promoter, only has about 50% TCG, 50% sports. So he does that because he feels like it's kind of like a treasure hunt. I've had conversations with him about this, and he feels like it's a treasure hunt for you to find. If everything's in one section, it's kind of like you know where to go. This kind of makes you walk around the entire room. And sometimes you find cases of TCG people that have one or two vintage cards, which are like usually my favorite kind of dealers, because that means they usually don't know very much about vintage. So sometimes you can get better deals. But I mean, everybody was seemed like a very good mood. The dealers were happy. The people walking around were happy. I mean, this show is just a well-oiled machine. I mean, that's the one thing about being Front Row, where they put on so many different shows. They know what they're doing. I mean, there is a line for VIP, which sold out, that was wrapped around 17 different ways to get into the show. And when it opens at 10 o'clock, they wristband everybody in line prior to 10 o'clock, and everybody just walks right in. That's like my favorite part of this show, which every show needs to do. And so you're just ready at 10 o'clock. You're ready to go in there and buy. It really is just on another level. I mean, this, which is now like 4 times a year, I think that they do it in Pasadena, and they do 4 times a year in San Diego. I mean, we now have shows every few months in California, which we never had before until Front Row came in. It's awesome.
So talking about buying, did you pick anything up?
I picked up one card. And by the way, I went with my dad today. I saw him in the chat. I'm going with Mike Petty tomorrow, so that should be very entertaining.
Oh, boy. Yeah, we're going to keep up with him. Working the room.
I won't be able to keep up with him, but we're going to have a great time. That's for sure. So I learned from you, Jeremy, so you were picking up some cards that you didn't know anything about on some of these auctions recently. This is one of those cards too. I've never seen this card before. I just walked through it, and I still don't know anything about it, but it caught my eye. A 1967 Perfetti Gum Cassius Clay card.
Oh, very cool. Who's that in the background? Who's that over his shoulder? I
think that's his trainer. I think.
That's pretty
Anybody
cool.
who knows about Muhammad Ali more than me, let me know who that mini-me is in the background.
I like the blue background on that card. It's beautiful. Very nice card.
It's a My Appeal kind of card. I looked it up. 3 of them have sold in the last 3 years. So I think there's like a very, very small amount of them. Caught my eye. Was relatively inexpensive, and who doesn't want a Cassius Clay 1967 card that you've never seen before? It was just like a cool looking card. It's beat up. It looks like it's completely mangled. Everyone that makes fun of me that I only like high eye appeal cards, this is a My Appeal card. It has like 70 different wrinkles in it, and I still love it. So sometimes you buy the card and you don't really care about how it looks.
That's a good I mean, sometimes you just want to own it. Absolutely. I hear you loud and clear on that for sure. Here, back to comments for a moment, and then I'm going to raise a topic for us. Stukes here says that needs to read the Clubhouse comment. So he's talking about the Sports Card Clubhouse YouTube channel. He says, oh, you did. Of course you watched. Yes, Stukes. I even responded to you. David Chase, best smile on YouTube. Chris says 700 tables tells me I'll never remember where I think he means like a gosh darn thing is what he's trying to say there, but he's I like that he's editing himself out there. Situational. Front Row needs to separate Pokemon and sports cards. It was annoyingly crowded. Yeah, I get it. I like shows that have them separate. I've been noticing that more, but I do a show once a quarter with Dan, the promoter of Front Row here on the channel. They're a great sponsor of the show here. And we've talked about that. So, but hey, reach out, keep on expressing what you think. You know, you never know. They could change a strategy. Absolutely. Chris says, realistically, every show should. It's not a bad thing, people. I'm not sure what that's about, but I'm sure 700 tables. How many Pokemon? California knows how to party, says Mookie Chilson. Guys, welcome Anthony Nelson to the chat. Longtime listener tuning into the live for the first time. Anthony, welcome to the live stream. It's great to have you. Thanks for joining. It really, that's super cool. Mookie says the scavenger hunt is almost as fun as the David Chase. Very nice. Rippin' in the Park says card party looked like a great time. I'm not familiar with card party except for all the posts I've seen about how the Teamsters were basically taking $150 off everybody to get their stuff into the show. All the vendors. That's all I heard. Jesse says the shows I've been to at Jay Lee, he definitely knows everyone. Well, those shows have been local, but I do know people in the card show for sure around here. Absolutely. Chris says the show in February is one I go to because of the vintage. Dan and Angela crush it as show runners. So Dan being Dan Bliss, the founder of the Front Row Card Show. Angela, I believe, is his wife, and that's a comment from Ben Burrows. Great to see you, Ben, as always. And even though I've just already said that. Okay, wow, too many comments for me to keep up with, you guys. Desert Shield Sniper is joining us in Hong Kong, but says it still feels like a Saturday night, even though it's Sunday over there. Another person joining us, Psy Guy 29, finally joining a live show, and see that David Chase smile live. There it is. And Rippin' in the Park, first time on the channel. The card party content algo sent me here. Interesting, because I don't have anything to do with card party. That's weird. But hey, glad to have you. All right. So speaking of the comments on the Sports Card Clubhouse, the video that we did, David, it's called The Hangover, guys. I'm just gonna show you that for a quick second here. So just so you can see, here is the there's no thumbnail. I can't really show you the thumbnail right now, but I want to go down to a specific comment down here. Where to go? Oh, see, of course I had it, David, and then
you can't show that thumbnail, Jeremy, because that thumbnail is so amazing.
I found it. Here it is. So first thing I want to do is hide the replies, and we'll save them for the end. Okay. So during the episode, we looked at a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar card. What auction house had that Kareem card? Was it Fanatics Weekly? It was on Fanatics Collect Weekly. And we were looking at so what we're doing on the Hangover on the Sports Card Clubhouse is we're talking about some topics that either we didn't dive into enough during Sports Cards Live, or other unrelated topics, or we might look at some cards and do some deep dives into the condition of them, which is what I do a lot on my Sunday night Fanatics Weekly show. And it's a lot of fun to do it. So we did it for a couple of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar rookies. And come to think of it, David should probably bring up the card. Actually, no, I want guys, I'm not going to show you the card right now. We'll talk about the comment. You can go to this video on the Sports Card Clubhouse and find that particular discussion. But let's read this comment here from RL3 Sports, who says, that was fun. I would like a further explanation as to why Jeremy, that's me, is so sure that the Kareem came out of the pack with that funky edge. Couldn't it be a rubber band? Couldn't it be rubber bandware? Maybe it was dropped and hit on the edge of the table. So the card we're talking about, the Kareem, it has on its border, it has a little like divot coming out of it in a way. And it's just, to me, and that's why we titled that episode Deformities, because the card, to me, is deformed. So I said that's a very fair question, because I said I'm pretty certain that this card came out of the pack this way. So RL3 asked why. So here was my response. I said, if it was dropped or was victim of an elastic band, you'd also see some wrinkling or creasing around the site of the offense. I see none. Also, if you inspect the flaw up close, you can see that there's no evidence of anything other than being miscut. The fray is consistent. Also, I've seen this before, and some of it is based on experience as well. That said, without holding it in hand, I cannot be 100% certain, but in this case, I'm 95% sure. He responds and says, thank you for a complete and honest answer. It's hard for me to judge edges on a phone screen. Yeah, if you're listening on a phone screen as well, that's a lot, or sorry, watching on a phone screen, which is so much smaller than a monitor, which I was looking at when I saw it. So just, a great comment from somebody watching that, but that's the kind of thing that I'd love to do, is assessing the condition of a card, making sure that people who are watching items at auction, maybe considering bidding on items at auction, are seeing everything that they can see. And that's part of what I do when I cover these auction shows, is we deep dive into the condition of cards. And I invite people. If you're looking, almost every Sunday night, I do a Fanatics show, and I select the cards that I want to look at. And really, I'm selecting the cards that I'm interested in. But if you watch that show and there's a card you're thinking about buying, or you want to know more about, either join the chat and let me know, or send me a message leading up to the show on Sunday night and say, hey, Jeremy, could you take a look at that card for me? And I'm happy to do that. So I want to invite that out there as well. David, any more thoughts sort of about the episode that we did and the Hangover on the Sports Card Clubhouse Network?
Well, now that Jeremy's offering to review every card, I mean, you guys should better take advantage of that. I mean, start piling them in now. I mean, that's pretty much how I became friends with Jeremy, as I started asking his opinion on a certain card. So do that if I were you guys. It's interesting that person wrote that, because I think that you and I had a conversation right before taping where I think that I asked you something like that too. Like, how do you know that it's that? And then you looked at the back of it and you saw that there was no bend to it or anything, and totally made sense as you looked at it in complete detail. So, dude, that's why when you watch, for me, I watch when Jeremy dissects cards, and I learned so much from watching him do that. I've been a fan of him doing that for forever, and I always make comments to him about how much I love when he dissects cards. If you guys want to learn about really what to look for, and I promise you there's a lot of things that he notices that at least I have never noticed on a card before, catch those Fanatics live auctions. They're awesome.
It is a fun show. And here, I'm going to just show the Sports Card Clubhouse channel. Here it is right here, guys. And you can see there's the thumbnail for the Hangover right there. Episode 1, the hobby is looking at cards wrong, and deformities is the little caption on the thumbnail itself. So we're going to stick with that. We're going to stick with that thumbnail template, if you will. And moving as
it's hard to get rid of that thumbnail. I mean, we love it so much.
It's a good thumbnail. That's Mike Junkwax Hero designed that thumbnail, so he did a great job. What's up, Fresh Prince of Sports Cards? What's up, Fresh Prince? Good to see you, buddy. Thank you for joining us here tonight, and almost as always, Skeppy said someone could have easily removed creasing or buckling around that flaw. You can't think that people aren't fixing cards on a regular basis. I guess that's fair, but I don't think so. I don't think that that's the case. Just from all the cards I've seen over the years, I don't think that's the case. Chris C says, I've always known the difference between perfect and imperfect, but I still have never understood how we're all screwed over on what the factories do. I don't really understand what you're getting at, Chris, but you just don't know how things are going to come out of the packs. Situational says Jay Lee dissecting Gretzky rookies is amazing. Well, I appreciate that. It is a lot of fun to do. Absolutely. Jake pulled the Stanley Cup hologram last week. Dreams still do come true. That is incredible. That's incredible. Absolutely. Yeah. Congrats, Jake, says Orlando. Everyone's congratulating Jake on that. Good evening, Gord. Welcome. Hey, Steve at Fresh Prince is loving Dave's Pee Wee Herman shirt. Absolutely. I also want to let you guys know on this, I think it's on Tuesday, I am doing a show for an auction company called Miller & Miller. And this will be the third or fourth show I've done for these guys, where we're going to go through and cover a lot of these cards. But right out of the gate, look at that. A couple of 52 tops Mickey Mantles, the Stanley Cups rookie card. This card has gone absolutely bonkers. This is a PSA 1. The bidding is already at $12,000, but you can see the caliber of cards. This is a Canadian company, guys. They do a lot of shipping to the U.S. Check out this auction company, Miller & Miller. And again, on Tuesday here on the channel, I'll be doing an auction showcase show with them. And it's millerandmillerauctions.com. They do a lot of auctions, not just sports cards. You can see They sell a lot of different things. They're a really a traditional sort of auction company. So that'll be here on I believe we're doing that on Tuesday, David. I'm going to check my calendar right now and just make sure when night I have that scheduled for. Looking at my phone here. Yeah, we are doing that on when. I don't even know. Okay, I gotta make sure I got that in my calendar. Well, that's coming up here on the channel, everybody.
This week.
Coming up here on the channel. Absolutely. Double V Mike says always some vintage banger in the Miller and Miller auctions.
I'm gonna look at that. Yeah. So Jeremy, somebody mentioned you dissecting the Gretzky card, which I've always told you I love when you do that too. And I know so much about that Gretzky card from watching your Fanatics Live. The oil drop, the name of the team on the top being on a different level. Do you sometimes at shows? Do people sometimes come up to you with that card because they know how many times you've reviewed it?
All the time. Probably, 4 or 5 times per show in Toronto at the Expo. Oh yeah, it happens a lot. I mean, it's been happening for years. Even like before Sports Cards Live, I was getting, because I had a lot of vintage at my booth for 15 years at the show, and vintage hockey. Well, not just vintage hockey, but a lot of vintage hockey. And that's been a constant. But now it happens. Like back then, it would happen, maybe once. But now, I get people bringing me cards. They walk over from another booth where the guy said that they haven't even bought it yet, and the vendors allowed them to leave that booth and bring it over to me to have a look at. And like, I want to go show it to Jeremy, and that vendor knows who I am, and so he says, "That's okay. Go take it to him." Probably hoping I'm not beating up their card as it comes over, but there's.
And I know you'll shoot it straight. I know you will. So have you sometimes had a conversation with somebody when they asked you to review their Gretzky and you had to give them some bad news? Has that happened?
All the time. Of course it happens. Yeah, for
if
sure.
Coming to you to give them your honest opinion, right? You can't just sugarcoat it, right?
I'm absolutely. I'm not going to do that. There's no way. There's no way. Absolutely not. No. I want to share one more thing with you guys. This is different. I have to just set up my screen share because this is a some DMs that I received on Instagram, and I want to, let me just find where it starts here. Okay. So I'm just going to share my screen here, set this up, and I'm going to read you these DMs that came in. Now I'm anonymizing who sent me these DMs, but this is an issue with PSA's service, and I think it's a serious problem, and it did sort of drive even the thumbnail and the title tonight. So let's have a look here. I'm going to zoom in so you guys can read along. I'm going to read this out loud and scroll down. Hey, Jeremy, it was nice chatting with you at the Expo. I know that criticizing the grading process is like shooting fish in a barrel, but I thought this personal anecdote could be an interesting topic. In March 2025, I cracked a 1968 Nolan Ryan rookie card out of what was then a freshly graded PSA 3 slab. Not an old slab from a time of different standards. After getting it signed through Nolan's Foundation, I resubmitted for dual grading back in November and finally got it back yesterday. While the auto was graded a 10, the card came back as authentic altered this time around. So that's the inconsistency. On one hand, and not too long ago, PSA slabs it and says the card is good, and now they send it back and it comes back as authentic altered. He goes on to say, knowing my efforts would be futile, I reached out to customer service and asked for an explanation, and they just said it's possible the graders were more lenient the first time around. He's got that in quotes. I mean, can customer service really say that they're being more lenient on authenticity? I can see it being more lenient on grading. Maybe what customer service meant to say was it's possible the graders spent less time on it and didn't notice it wasn't authentic the first time around. But that's me speculating. Continue reading the DM. He goes, while that offhand admission that they are not a consistent service didn't surprise me, and that's key right there. They admitted that they're not a consistent service. And I think they've admitted that before. Their get out of jail free card is that we're humans and it's subjective and we're just giving an opinion, and one grader might give a different opinion than the other grader. He goes on to say, while that offhand comment that they are not a consistent service didn't surprise me, what did was that they didn't ask for the original certificate to deactivate it. Okay, I guess that's kind of fair. Wrong one. The next, he continues, it's just such bad business that a company that positions itself as the industry leader with final say on values, then upcharges occur and essentially is responsible for how high-priced items are valued, can be so blatantly inconsistent while taking zero responsibility for losses incurred by collectors who rely on their expert opinions. It's such a stain on the hobby. Fortunately, it's not the end of the world for me, but I just thought I'd share as perhaps it's relevant to the ongoing Sports Cards Live discussions. And of course it's relevant. This is our hobby, and PSA is the biggest player in our hobby. So I definitely think that it's relevant, and that's why we raise the issue and just bring it up, I suppose. So yeah, there's that's kind of that's what I want to share. And I agree with the guy. It's a tough situation. The hobby doesn't really care that PSA is inconsistent. Some people in the hobby care, but the general hobby doesn't care, or they don't know. There are so many people, David, out there who are submitting cards for grading. They are unfortunately still under the false impression that PSA gets it right all the time. And there's been people talking about how we only hear about the negative cases. We don't hear about the positive cases, but we don't really need to hear about the positive cases. We know that they're going to get it right sometimes, and they're going to get it right a second time sometimes. But I firmly believe that if you were to send them 100 cards one time, crack them out, do zero damage to any of the cards, send them back in a second 100 time, you're going to see a different grade on 45 of those 100 cards. That's kind of, and I think it's simply because, like PSA says, sometimes they're more lenient. Sometimes they don't spend as much time on the card. That's me talking, but I believe that to be true as well. So it's just like, there's so many people out there who are kind of have the blinders on, and they're just ignorant to the fact that PSA is inconsistent. And with all the values out there right now, the difference in price for a PSA 10 over a BGS 9.5, a PSA 10 over a PSA 9, it's just too bad that more people don't know that that's the case. So I don't know, David. It's the guy reached out to me. I wanted to share his comment. He, thought it might be a good topic. I think it is. It's not a new topic, but it's important, and it's out there, and it's happening. And it's too bad. We have new people joining us tonight. Probably been listening for a while, so they know this. But yeah, I mean, even being at the Front Row Card Show today, David, you were probably at tables. You see people buying in. So you overhear comments, all the comp comments that are going on out there, and even comps themselves are useless without context for the most part. People don't seem to care in many cases. The eye appeal movement has helped to rectify a lot of that. I'm not talking about the sticker movement. I'm talking about the eye appeal movement. I'm talking about people just being like, I don't necessarily care what PSA says. I care if I like the card or not. So anyway, I've just talked for a while, said a lot. What do you think about all that, David? And I'm going to go scour the comments.
Yeah, I mean, one of these episodes, we have to talk about what's some of these major issues with PSA, because I have a lot to say that we can't talk about right now. But for what you were just discussing, I'll tell you that, you have to find different ways to make a little money in the hobby to make your purchases be a little bit less and less cash out of pocket. And I used to be one of those people that try to find undergraded cards and crack them and resubmit them. And you can't do that anymore. I mean, you are playing with fire. And I stopped doing that a little over a year ago, when a very high percentage of the cards that I would crack and resubmit came back as min size and altered, just like what that person said. And you really can't. And then what you have to do is then you have to send it to SGC. And then if they say the same thing, then you send it back to PSA, and then you actually get a grade, which is crazy in itself, but it takes you now a year and a half to do all that. So they have so many issues with things like that. And you just, you know, you can't play the game where you crack it and try to root for something better anymore. Leave that for people and let them get burned. Just be happy with the card that you buy. Keep it in the slab that you have it in, and or don't buy it. That's what I'd recommend.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, buy the card. Don't worry about the slab so much, unless it's all scratched up or it's one of those ancient slabs. Like, you know, Beckett is they're rebranding. It feels like, or they're not rebranding. They're kind of going back to the Beckett roots with the brand, and as far as the label goes, the logo, I believe. And I listened to an episode with the new general manager over there on Brett stacking slabs. It was a great episode. I thought the guy from Beckett did a great job talking about what they're doing over there and how they're listening to collectors and trying to, you know, improve, get back to being a trusted grading company. So they're redoing their label. They've redone it already, but I think he said they're also looking at some new plastics. And that is the deal breaker for me with Beckett slabs is the plastic itself. If they come out with a better plastic, I'm going to be very interested in. First of all, I'll take all my Beckett slabs I have now, and I will get them reslabbed by Beckett because I like the new label, and I want the new plastic. And I don't need to send it to another grading company. I'll just pay the reslab fee and spruce up the way that those cards look. So I have no issue with that. I think it's good what I heard over there. Okay, go.
And Beckett, if you are doing new plastic, make it where it can be stackable with a PSA slab while you're at it. Thank you.
Oh, that would be incredible, wouldn't it? That would be very.
You're changing the plastic anyway. Do that for us.
Rob Starr, thanks for digging into the channel, Rob. The Miller Show is this Tuesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Thanks, Rob. Now for sure I'll be there. Brad's Vintage says inconsistency on authentication stinks, but on grading, I've always looked at a number grade as an option that is usually accurate within plus or minus one of the grade. Usually is definitely true, but certainly not always. I've seen cards go from 5 to 9 before. So it's not always. It does happen. Stukes calls it the crack and slab generation. Absolutely. Situational Adventure says some dealer told me that PSA was going down soon. FTC and other investigations, he said. I just said, oh, really? Yeah, I would say the same thing. Oh, really? I don't see PSA going down soon. There's just too much going on over there. Chris C says we're in a junk slab and junk parallel era. David Cooey says PSA equals please submit again. Skeppy says customer service should have never said what they said. What they should have offered is a special price or no charge review with grader's notes of the grade. Leave it at that. Yeah, well, Skeppy, you are not managing that department, but that probably does make sense. And you know, you don't know why the card is authentic altered. You just don't know anything when it comes to the grade. Beckett does give you 4 subgrades, but even that is, I don't believe, enough. It's better than PSA for sure, but it's still only 4. Read Pops and Comps. You'll hear my thoughts on that. Chris says that statement indicates a huge issue on the idiots. Mookie says nobody covers the planes that land on time. Well said, Mookie. Brad, is this? Oh, no, same comment twice. Chris here says it is 100% all they are. They are all someone's opinion. Grading, yes, absolutely. All 100% opinion. Brad Vintage says CGC has the best. No, they don't, Brad. Tag actually has the best plastic. If you're not counting Tag, then fine. But Tag actually has the best plastic. If you put a Tag slab beside a CGC slab, you'll see the CGC's plastic is blue. Tag's slab is completely clear. He says they are so clear. It looks like you're seeing the card, not the plastic. You'll be surprised how inaccurate that is. I'm not saying it's not a good plastic. You can see the card. CGC is I love their slab. I love their slab because I love Tag slab and it's a lot like Tag slab. But again, you put a Tag and a CGC slab beside, not like this, put them together like this, and you will see clearly that the CGC slab is blue and Tags is clear. So it's definitely improvable. Stuke says the PSA makes millions harvesting collector money for the set registry. competition. Mookie says the grading marketplace is so starved for speed, accuracy, consistency, and transparency. It's a bad state. It's a bad state of affairs. Yeah, and I mean, I really wonder. And with this $200 million investment, adding hundreds of more employees, more offices, I'm guessing more locations. How are they going to maintain control? I don't know, but there's some smart guys over there, led by Nat Turner. I have a lot of respect for Nat Turner. He's a real collector. He loves this hobby. I really hope that they can find a way to fix what is wrong with the consistency and not just say, listen, there's an acceptable error rate in most businesses and most products, and they might actually just say our acceptable error rate is whatever. Maybe they'll judge it at 5%. It's a lot higher than that, but they'll probably say it's 5%. And maybe they're okay with that. Maybe they're okay with 5 because they know that they're a machine that just can't be stopped right now. So,
but why is it now that they decided to do this? Why couldn't they have done this a year ago or 2 years ago? I mean, this is not a new thing. We've been having these issues with delays for years. I mean, to now say it's the time to hire 1,000 new employees, I don't know. It bugs me. It bugs me because I don't usually, just like you, Jeremy, we're both on that stage where we don't really like to send cards to PSA. We'll buy them graded so we don't have to deal with this problem. But I've been waiting for a very long time to send a few cards in. I sent 5 cards in October 27th, and they're still in QA checks. And they've been there for about 2 months, and they were in assembly for 3 months. Okay. You cannot tell me that it takes that long to do assembly. Fine. QA, that might take a little bit of
I mean, but David,
talent.
really, the thing we have to consider is that we're not behind those closed doors and knowing what is going on a day-to-day basis, how long their backlog is. And really, I mean, you got to think they want to get these things in and out as fast as they can. They just can't do it. They just can't keep up. The hobby is growing faster than they possibly can, and that's okay. They have a good problem on their hands. They have a good problem. It doesn't work well for us, the collector, but it's good for profit. It's good for an impending IPO. It's good for all these things for PSA. So, Collector Charles makes a great comment. The hobby has become so dependent on grading when it comes to mainstream collecting that it's permanently ingrained in the hobby permanently. He felt so strongly. He used the word permanently twice, and I think it is ingrained in the hobby permanently. Now, will it go through changes here and there, improvements? I think it probably will. It has to, especially once all the new big money coming in realizes that they're kind of being led adrift on a lot of these PSA grades. There has to be a reckoning of some sorts, I believe. We're at Foul. I want to bring up Foul Ball's comment because it's good. He grounds us. Where did it go? Foul Ball. I had it ready to go. But he basically said, the hobby isn't only about grading. You don't just need slabs. Not everything needs to be slabbed. And I think that's true. Chris says the top loader binders I love. Foul Ball says respect should be earned, not given. I think that's very fair. So lots of comments like that coming in look at Chris C has out of 30,000 cards, only 70 are slabbed. That's all you need. And that's actually a very high percentage when you think about the whole hobby. There are billions of cards being produced every year. And how many are getting slabbed? Well, I think we know 100 million, whatever it is. So,
and one thing that I noticed at Front Row Card Show, there was a lot more raw cards than I'm used to seeing. And there was a lot of conversations with dealers where they were telling me how they have a huge amount of inventory that's waiting in PSA right now. So that's completely normal across the board. There's a lot of people waiting for a lot of stuff that they're nervous that they're not going to get it back before the National. I heard that across the floor many times. And there's a lot of people that are selling raw because they're saying, you know what? We want to have the inventory now. Let's see what it sells for and see if we have to grade it. So,
well, and I even heard, I was watching Theo Clemente Collector's show with interviewing Howard Chassery, who said that exact same thing. I mean, he's a well-respected vintage dealer, and he doesn't even know if he's going to have his inventory back in time for the National. Now, I really don't blame PSA for this. I really don't. I blame them for inconsistency. I don't blame them for turnaround times. Personally. and I also don't really, it doesn't really impact me as a it impacts the dealers, the flippers, and I guess even collectors who just want their cards back as soon as possible. I've always been willing to wait. Personally, I can be patient. Luckily, I don't have to wait because I buy cards graded, but I don't submit cards for grading lately anyway. I have in the past, but I haven't for so long now, especially with PSA, that I just buy them graded, let you wait. It's grading is great, guys. Long wait times are great because by the time you get your cards back, they've gone down in value and I scoop in and buy them. You know, you also pay the insurance premiums for me and people who buy secondary market grading. So grading is awesome. It's perfect just the way it is. Charles says all touch cases are awesome. Dove Beck says grading has become so ingrained that you've got to be suspicious of raw, which people are, but not. I mean, there are so many more ungraded cards than graded. Mike Petty says 180 business day is absurd, period. Yeah, but here's the problem, Petty. If they were to rush that, they're not even grading the cards. They're just slabbing them and just having the computer randomly put a grade on there because they can't look at them. So it is absurd. What they should do is shut down. They did that before. How'd the hobby take to that? They're in a no-win situation, aren't they?
Yes, but I mean, what kind of business judges time by business days these days? You know, like I think right there is a very shady practice to be calling it business days. And by the way, PSA has enough money. I think their workers they can hire to work on weekends and nights these days also. Well, business days should not be used.
But how do we know? Like I know Tag has recently put out an announcement that they needed to eliminate some bulk services or something because they're behind. They've been scaling. They've been adding other floors in the building they're in. They're running 24/7. They run 3 8-hour shifts. They're at max capacity. Nobody can keep up right now. So there is no real solution to this. Like there is
That's true. But don't you think they're using business days because they're trying to make it sound like it's not as long? Why not just say it's 250 days?
Yeah,
why are they doing that?
I don't know. Who cares? I mean, whatever it is, business days, calendar days. I mean, it's a long time. Okay. All right, guys. Yeah. Fun chat. We can revisit this later on in the show, but we're going to switch it up and we are going to bring on our featured guest for the night. His name is Jace, everybody. He goes by Ace of Grades 28 on Instagram. We've been talking for a while. We hung out at the expo in Toronto a couple of weeks ago, and we're going to talk about a few things. We're going to get to know him and hear a few things about kind of finding your way in the hobby. I see more comments coming in, so we will perhaps get to some of them later. But guys, David, and to the Sports Cards Live chat, please help me in welcoming. Are you ready, Jace? You ready to come up? Please help me welcome Jace to the show. Ace of Grades, Jace, welcome. How are you, buddy?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Doing good. David,
nice
say
to
hi.
meet you.
Hello. Welcome to the show. Good to have you on.
Thanks for having me. Nice to meet you, David.
Nice to meet you.
All right, guys. So listen, Jace and I were chatting, and I thought he'd give us a good perspective of someone new coming to the hobby. Now, Jace, before we jump in with your origin story and all that, you've been in the back for about 10 minutes or so, 15 minutes, listening to the conversation. What do you think about what's going on with grading inconsistency and delays and expansion? How do you feel about that? Any thoughts based on the discussion that you just heard?
Yeah, I mean, you guys have talked about it many times before, but I don't have too much experience in the space. But from what I can see, obviously, there's definitely some inconsistencies. And I don't know, as big of a company as PSA is, and like the billions of dollars that's being put into the industry, I'm kind of surprised that it's not more of a big deal that, cards are getting resubmitted and they're getting different grades, authentic altered. Like, I think that's a pretty big problem that needs to be addressed, that, not just on podcasts. Like, I'm surprised, it could be a real news story if you think about it. But at the same time, I think, yeah, for someone like me who doesn't know too much about like the details, for example, in vintage or 90s refractors, a bunch of error cards, some duplicates, I think that grading can definitely give you some comfortability to be able to jump into spaces that you aren't too familiar with. So I love it, but I'm like you guys, I don't really grade too many cards. I mean, the cost and the time is just, for me, my pockets aren't too deep anyways, so I'd rather just buy graded cards. And I think, you can find some good deals too. Find some low grade, good eye peel stuff like you guys always say. So, there's pros and cons with grading, but I definitely get the good end of it sometimes as well.
So yeah, appreciate the comments, Jace. And I'm just gonna update your name bar here. There we go. Now we got your name, we got your Instagram handle beneath it, guys. If you're on Instagram, go give Jace a follow at Ace of Grades 28. Speaking about Instagram handles, guys, help me. Let's lynch my good buddy David Chase here and say, David, what's up with your Instagram handle? It's about real estate or something. Can you just create a card account already? Like, what's going on? Seriously, buddy.
I mean, I don't have a YouTube account. I don't have an Instagram account. I don't post on Facebook. Listen, I'm a regular person that doesn't like social media. All right. And the thing that I do respect about my Instagram account is I have a lot of followers. I have 0 posts, and I'm kind of proud of that. But you're right. I probably need to change that someday.
Yeah. Chat. Let him know. Please let him know. We need David Chase to start an Instagram.
Nobody cares. They've seen me enough. Come on.
I care.
That might be true, but that might be true. No, come on. We're going to see a lot more. You see Charles saying, come on, David, get yourself an Instagram.
Charles is my buddy.
Jace has an Instagram account, Ace of Grades 28. Jace, tell us a little bit about your origin story. When did you get into the hobby? What kind of cards do you collect? What drew you into the hobby? Go ahead. Let people know. Let people hear your journey so far.
Awesome. So yeah, I'm 24, or soon to be 24. So I haven't been around too long, but I really have been collecting my whole life. Cards have always been a thing for me. Growing up, it was mostly Pokemon with my older brother and my cousin. But I did have some sports cards. I remember Upper Deck MVP hockey was a big deal for me back then. Some Topps Chrome baseball. That was always the big thing for me growing up. Still got those ones. But I've been a bit of a treasure hunter, as I like to say as well. It wasn't just cards. I got into comics growing up, some memorabilia, different media things like Harry Potter I'm really big into. But as far as diving into cards, that didn't really happen until about 2020. And I started seeing a lot of people buying and selling and posting their stuff online. And I thought, you know what? I've always loved this. Maybe it's a great way to start a little bit of a side hustle. Maybe I can become a little bit of a flipper. And I remember I bought an RJ Barrett Prism draft pick, silver Prism rookie card, and I thought it was the craziest thing. I thought I was getting the best steal in the world, and started buying rookie cards and trying to make the flipping happen. It was a lot harder than I thought it would be, first of all. But then along the way, I pretty much just kind of fell in love with the cards and really just held on to most of the stuff that I bought pretty much up until last year. I mean, I've been trying for the last year now to sell some stuff and really, I guess, figure out my PC lane and what direction I'm going. And so I'm just trying to balance out the flipping to fund the PC, but at the same time, trying to build that collection up and see where it gets me. And
yeah,
here I am now.
Yeah, it reminds me, I remember talking a lot during the pandemic run up of the hobby, how there were all these new people coming in. A lot of them were coming in, a lot of them saw dollar signs after those first headlines were making their way, after people were discovering their collections out of boredom. And then people discovered the marketplace, and we had all these flippers coming in, and flippers, especially in this, not especially, but often in this chat, aren't looked upon kindly in many cases. And I think they're a part of the ecosystem, and there is a place for them. But, I remember thinking to myself, if we have 1,000 new people coming into the hobby right now with dollar signs in their eyes, when the party sort of ends, when we had the correction, let's say, we lost a lot of the hobby. A lot of those people went elsewhere. But I always thought to myself, out of those 1,000 new collectors, some of them, 100, 200, 500, are going to fall in love with the cards and stay in. And you seem to have done that. Can you talk a bit about that transition from maybe, you had collecting in your blood, you have treasure hunting in your blood, you had flipper dreams of being a flipper to make some money to help fund your own PC. But what was that transition like from being, okay, I just want to be in here to be in the hobby to be a flipper, to I actually love these cards and I want to build a PC that is meaningful? How'd that transition really play out for you?
Well, I feel like I got caught up in a lot of this, like a lot of the trends early on. There were some sets, like an example I can think of is 2012 Fleer Retro Hockey. I got caught up in that early on when everyone was posting and talking about the PMGs and everything like that, all the inserts. And I don't know, I felt myself getting pulled in every direction by what I was seeing online. And I was making a lot of mistakes, to be honest. Like I thought it was easy money, so I was kind of just buying whatever I thought was cool, and I figured, oh, this card is $200. It'll probably be worth $400. Like, I really didn't know what I was doing. So I definitely was one of those people at the end of the party who was like, okay, maybe this isn't really what I thought it was. But at the same time, I started to see a lot of things that I liked. And so I was still okay just buying anyways, because I still liked all the stuff I was buying. And yeah, when everything kind of crashed, I guess you could say in 2022, 2023, I was still around. So I was just buying stuff that was kind of cheap at the time. And fast forward a few years later, some of those things have become more expensive. And now it's come around full circle. So yeah.
Okay. No, I mean it's interesting to just hear people's journeys and how they are transitioning and evolving as collectors. Now you have completed the assessment on hobbyspectrum.com. Where did you fall on the hobby spectrum?
I am a perfect hybrid of 50.
Right smack dab in the middle. And do
Yes,
you,
sir.
do you think of yourself as being, do you have any aspirations to evolve and maybe, head in a certain direction, towards the more investor side, towards, the next one would be the builder to the right, or to precisionist to the left, towards the purist? Do you want to move in either of those directions, or are you happy with kind of how you profiled out on Hobby Spectrum and you just want to continue down that path?
I'm actually pretty happy with that because I think it perfectly describes like my mindset, because I can definitely become more of a purist or a precisionist on the stuff that I like. And I'll go deep dive and I'll spend hours and hours researching and looking for the stuff that I really like to collect. But on the other end of it, yeah, like, there's so many things you can get into, podcasts or becoming a dealer, or, talking about auctions that are coming up, things like that. So there definitely is some aspirations there. I'd love to be a part of the space more than just as a collector. And yeah, but I would hope to think that my profile stays the same, because it goes back and forth. There's definitely, I'm not going to end up being a full-on purist at one point. I don't think I'm going to end up being a full-on investor at any point.
So you're right in the middle. David, I was just about to say to you, any questions for Jace?
Yeah, I have a couple, but so you were heavily into Pokemon TCG, and I mean that's as on fire now as it's ever been, it seems like. What made you transition to do a lot more sports and get out of that TCG lane, or are you still in it? How did that
I'm
change
not
happen?
too much into it now, mostly just my passion, because growing up, like it was just because they were cool cards. I actually didn't know too much about Pokemon and all like the specificities, I guess, of all the sets and all that. And as I got older, I became more of a sports fan, and so a lot of my memories that I like, collecting is brings you in touch with your childhood, and so I just want to collect all my favorite guys who I grew up watching, and Pokemon has kind of just become like something I'm not as into, I guess, as I'm older. So it's not as much of an interest. And then also because it's exploded as well, it's kind of intimidating because the prices are just going up and up and up, and there's just 10 sets a year that are put out. And there's just too much information, I feel like, for me to really dive into it. And yeah, but as far as the enjoyment, it's more so sports for me. So that's what I'm kind of sticking to. And it's also easier, I feel like, because I sort of some way I know what I'm doing, I guess. Like I feel like I understand sports more than I do TCG.
Makes
Yeah.
sense. You good, David?
No, I can keep going, but with you being like flipping and collecting for your PC, How are you determining which cards to sell, which cards to keep? Are you sometimes holding on to cards that you feel like you couldn't flip, but just resonate with you a little bit different? How do you feel about doing that?
Yeah, so I don't know. I guess I didn't really think about it for a long time until I got a whole bunch of cards and I realized like, okay, this is getting a little out of hand for me at least. Maybe not to you guys. You guys probably have a lot more cards than me. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it comes down to really what I care about the most. And if a card doesn't fit in my PC now, then I'm more comfortable letting it go. There are definitely some cards that like I'm sitting on still that I do have, like I said, I'm a hybrid. So I do like to see my cards appreciate in value, and there's definitely a few cards that I'm holding on to that aren't necessarily my cup of tea, but I think are still kind of great value and a potential future flip. Whether that's in a couple of years, 5 years, 10 years, you know, that remains to be seen.
In a way, David kind of jumped the gun there, Jace, because not without knowing, because we were going to kind of, because that's kind of what one of the topics, David, for Jace was, finding your lane when there's so many cool cards out there that you like. How do you? I have it on my notes here that one of the questions that Jace has for people for us to talk was, how do you rank your want list? How do you prioritize your want list when you like so many cards? And I mean, for me, I'm able to. I have so many cards. I've gotten past that stage of like it being overwhelming. I want 1,000,000 cards, or I want 100 cards. I've got 80 of those cards now. So ranking 20 versus 100 is a lot easier. And I think, and that's a topic, Jace. Do you want to just actually like present that question in your own words? Because this is something that you brought to me.
Sure, yeah. So for me, I'm into a lot of stuff and I have a lot of memories too that I want to have a physical form of, I guess. And so I just kind of I pick up a lot of different things. I pick up wrestling cards, I pick up baseball cards now, recently, basketball, hockey. There's just so much stuff, and I'm discovering something new every day. So it's kind of like, how do I decide what's worth my money really? Because that's more so the thing for me too, is that being a younger guy, I don't have too much money. I don't want to go crazy, and I want to make sure that I'm picking things that are the most meaningful to me. But I really don't know at the same time because it's like, yeah, Sidney Crosby growing up, one of the biggest names in Canada. So I definitely want to have a PC of him. But my basketball guy is Kawhi Leonard. So it's like, how do I battle if I see two cards of both of those guys coming up? Who do I go for? I don't know.
I understand. And I mean, we talk a lot about being like, what lane are we in? And part of this is maybe helping you find the lane or specializing, or even though you like Kawhi and Crosby, maybe you, and this is not just you, Jace, we're speaking to anybody who's having this issue, is you might have to sacrifice collecting one of the players because your budget isn't broad enough to collect two players. You might have to only collect modern and ignore vintage until you make more money in the future, or ignore modern and only collect vintage until you make more money in the future. I think these are tough decisions that we have to make early in our collecting career. Now, for me and David and a lot of other people who are older than you, Jace, these issues weren't as prevalent because cards were cheaper. They weren't, even the time value of money, or with inflation, if you were to go back to the value of $1 20 years ago, you could afford a lot more cards based on salaries in the day versus today. So it must be more challenging for someone of 23, 24 years old here in 2026 who's trying to build a meaningful PC, but there's so many cards out there you want and so little money to spread around. So have you thought about maybe saying, okay, I like all these things, I'm going to start voting some of them off the island because there's not enough room for everybody, all these different interests that you have. Have you thought about that sort of approach?
Absolutely, yeah. Like, right now, I guess I'm just basically going through the sports that I care about the most and then picking my top two or three guys and just going from there. But also the thing too is like I'm worried about the future and what the prices might look like even when I do have money, because, 5, 10, 15 years from now, even if I have some more money in my pocket, these cards could be tens of thousands of dollars, some of them, for all we know. So that's also, I wonder about, is this a good time to buy this card now? Or can I wait? You know what I mean?
That's a really tough situation, and that's one that we've all been dealing with for decades. And if you've listened to me from the beginning of Sports Cards Live, I know I've said this before, and I've behaved like this before, which is I try not to worry about what cards are going to be worth in the future. I like to be ahead of the curve. I like to be able to anticipate a trend or a certain card being more appreciated by the hobby. Players are tougher because anything can happen at any given time. Shohei could break something and all of a sudden he's not playing anymore. God forbid something really bad happens off the court and somebody dies. A player, Johnny Gaudreau in hockey was killed riding his bike a couple years ago. That's not going to bode well long-term for his cards, I don't think, although some people there's still a lot of sentiment for him out there. So these things can happen. And so what I've always done is just not worried about where the market's at. I'm just always adding cards to my collection that I love, that I can afford at the time, and trying not to worry too much about where the values might go, especially in the world of vintage when these careers are done and a lot of these guys are already dead. So they can't really do anything to hurt their marketability, their values. Whereas any living player, even Wayne Gretzky and Michael Jordan, it's possible they could do something stupid. You hope not. We like to think not. I mean, the hobby is kind of built on Michael Jordan in many ways. So I don't know. Maybe he is immune to that. I'm not sure, but that's kind of how I answer that, Jace. And I saw a comment in the chat. Oh, CY Psy guy, just collect what you love what you collect, and maybe don't worry so much about those future values. It can be very difficult to navigate that, and then you're also gonna blame yourself for your mistakes. Sure, you'll take credit for the wins, but you'll be like, I mispredicted that. And so much of the hobby is built up on prospecting and the most recent rookies. That's where card companies make their money, on the most recent rookies. That's what drives those products. And the worst time to buy a rookie card is like the first one that pops up on eBay, sort of thing. You're often going to pay the most. So anyway, those are some comments that I have for you. I'd like to get your thought. David, do you want to jump in first with some of that? Because if you do, go ahead.
Yeah, just very quickly, I know you mentioned mistakes a few different times. We all make mistakes, okay? Just know that. Sometimes when you're getting into a new lane or a new version of collecting, you're going to make more mistakes than when you've been following one certain path for many years. So don't beat yourself up about that. And I would just say, you don't have to rush, okay?
Yeah.
Like, these cards are around. You don't have to pick up everything tomorrow, okay? And I would say it's a marathon, not a race. And I think that you will like and enjoy your collection more if you don't just go and buy everything in the next 30 days. Make it calculated. Maybe look into things a little bit. Buy one thing, see what you think, but you don't have to buy the Crosby and the Leonard both tomorrow. Buy one of them, see how you feel, research other versions of it. So that's just a little piece of advice I'd give.
And great advice, David. Some great advice in the chat. We're going to get to that too. Also, Jace, are you a player collector? Are you? I saw there was one comment. We'll get to it. But if you like a certain set, maybe you want to collect. Maybe you want to dabble with a Crosby card, an Ovechkin card, a McKinnon card, and a Makar card, whatever it is. You don't just because a checklist has 20 cards on it for some insert set. Just pick 4 and I call that flight collecting, where you don't need every card on the checklist. That's a great way to collect because you're no longer beholden to all the players that you don't care about on that checklist. A lot of people discover a set they love and they start buying the cheaper cards first because they want to get the whole set. And by the time they get to the bigger cards, the main players, in many cases, those cards have doubled, tripled in value. Should have just bought those and forgot about the cheaper ones and used that money for more cards of players that you like. But that's me projecting how I collect. You might be a set collector. all the power in the world to set collectors. I have no issue with set collecting, just not for me, but I completely respect it. And I've lived that life before as well. So you almost have to decide, how are you collecting? You know, if you're shooting ducks in a barrel, you're going to have a very scattered collection. And I'm kind of doing that right now. The last couple of weeks, I've been just plucking different cards from different things. And none of them are even here yet. They're recent purchases. And I'm having fun. But that's just what I'm doing. I don't think that hard about it. I know that at the end of the day, I've got all my great cards that I love that are very organized and well curated. And I'm not beating myself up about the duck in a barrel strategy, which I do a little bit of. So back to you, though. You just got to kind of figure out how do you want to collect? What's your collecting strategy versus your financial strategy? Does that make anything you want to, and does any of this make sense? And once
yeah, you guys, I mean, you guys are spot on. Like I'm starting to have these thoughts in my head now. Like as I've had a few years of experience, I'm starting to learn not to chase the new shiny thing all the time. I mean, not in a flipping mentality even, but just like in my own head. Oh, I find a set that I like. Doesn't mean I need to go spend a few $100 on it right away. Like you said, David, you know, I don't have to buy everything in the next 30 days. But yeah, I mean, I do have to still figure out what type of collector I am. I like a lot of like rare, ultra modern, shiny stuff. And as far as the future values, I feel like the ones I care about the most, like I'm afraid of them being more expensive, are those ones that you never see come up for sale. You know, because like you said, with the vintage or some of more of the base stuff, you can always get that stuff. It'll always be around. If anything, maybe there'll be more copies around as people, you know, get more stuff graded and everything. So there's that too. But when you're talking about maybe a gold prism out of 10, well, I don't know how many opportunities I'm going to have. And I would assume it's the opposite, you know. Later on, there's probably going to be less of those cards coming to light. So yeah, I would say that I'm starting to learn a little bit more. And as far as like being aggressive and what I'm buying, keeping that aggression for the cards that really deserve it, I guess, and the cards that really won't be around.
Yeah. Now you make some good points there on like the prism out of 10. Sometimes you can't wait. You have to buy a card when it presents itself. If it's on your priority list super high up and you really, really want it and you've settled in on that player or whatever aspect of the card it is, you just sort of have to get it. So I completely hear you on that. I want to go to comments. Let's hear from David first, and then we got lots of comments on this topic. So David.
I mean, you shouldn't listen to me about ultra modern because I don't know anything about it. But one thing, if I was still to give an opinion on it, if you're going on ultra modern and you don't have the largest budget in the world, I probably would not just pick one player and just go heavy on them for these ultra modern cards. I would say diversify just a little bit, right? Especially if these are cards that you're going to be holding for a while. I mean, if you're flipping them, that's one thing. But if you don't have a huge budget, just don't go on one player in this crazy market where we have right now, because if that person gets hurt or something, you'll feel the pain.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Such great comments here. Do you have anything you want to say back to that, Jace?
Yeah, I will say, like, I usually don't get too crazy into the prospecting. Luckily, I've held back a bit. I stick with my guys mostly. And honestly, if anything, like, you know, if something happens about Kawhi Leonard in the media, it's okay to me. I still have my memories associated with him. Nothing's going to change my childhood of watching him win a championship in Toronto. That's set in stone. So yeah, I know how to hold back a little bit, I guess, when it comes to the prospecting. I'm not a huge fan on that.
Good. Well, that's great. And you're already making progress. You're not brand new to the space, but you're inquisitive, you're curious, and you're open to feedback and just learning from people who've been in the hobby longer than you. I think that's
Absolutely.
a great place to come from. Chris C welcomed you to the chat. Thank you, Chris, for doing that. Jesse said, the day David Chase followed me, I knew I had made it. Greg, Midlife Cards is here. What up, buddy? What up, G? Nick Martelli says, real collectors always stick around. Ain't that the truth, Nick? Absolutely. Chris here says, been collecting since 1987. I've had to pivot, but I'm still here and having a blast. That's really important. I've had to pivot, but I'm still here and having a blast. Be willing to pivot. Understand that you might pivot. He goes on to say it does matter. I don't let the industry affect my hobby. That's not letting the industry affect your hobby, I think, is a key mental strength that we can have. Hello, Red Light. Welcome to the show. Mr. Mano says micro sets. Cool way to collect and not breaking the bank. Very similar, maybe the same thing as what I call flight collecting. Flint Hall says, I've been selling off a lot of my PC. This hobby's become extremely stressful. I have developed a lot of mental health issues because of it. Don't let this happen to yourself, Jace. That's a comment that, I mean, Flint Hall, I hope you are going to be okay. I hope everything's okay in your world. Literally, I mean that. But don't let yourself, like we need to guard our mental health and make sure that we're not having issues because of the hobby. Jim Sholey says, Jace, decide if you're chasing PSA 10s or eye appeal or rarity. Might whittle things down a bit. I mean, it's so weird that we have to decide between PSA 10s or eye appeal or rarity. Like, there are so many other ways to collect besides the condition of the card. Like, but this is a decision that many people have to make. Are you chasing, especially in the world of vintage, where you could sub out PSA 10s for whatever grade and just say, are you chasing high technical grade or eye appeal or rare cards? In which case, if it's, and even with modern, I would say, are you chasing cards that have nice like design appeal and aesthetics, or are you chasing rarity? There's a lot of one-on-ones that aren't nice. Take a printing plate, for example. Situational Adventure says, so much of the hobby is built on gambling. Prospecting is just a form of that. Absolutely. Here's Greg's comment. A great comment. I read it earlier. It says, one thing I consider, will I have the chance to buy this card again in the future? How available is this card? Exactly what you were saying, Jace, about a Prism Gold, where they just might not come up again. Shaheen says, another method is to attain by rarity or scarcity. Take your time to find something special that will be tougher to obtain in the future. That's a great comment. Hydro Honda says, collect a set that can't be completed. That way the hunt continues and you don't lose interest by completing a set. This is a really good comment for a couple of reasons. Number one, I agree. I have a couple of lifetime pursuits in the hobby that I will never complete. And I'm okay. I like it that way. It's like that. They have living sets. Like I think Topps has a living set. I think Upper Deck has a living set where the same design comes out. They add players to it and they're not repeated, sort of thing, year after year after year. Well, it's like a living pursuit of collecting a set. I'm not talking about those sets. Those, have at them if you want, but you can just find something to chase that comes out every year, and you're never going to get, you might not, hopefully you don't ever get tired of it. And it keeps it interesting. So I really like that. And then the other thing he said here was, you don't lose interest by completing a set. You won't believe how many times I see people that they're completing sets. Hey, I need this last set. They'll post, can anyone help me find the last card for my set? They finally get that last card for their set after 5 or 10 years or 5 or 10 months, whatever it is. Next thing you know, that set's being sold and broken up because the hunt was what they wanted. Completing the set ended the game, and now they sell it and they almost start fresh with something else. So set collecting, when you complete a set, hey, that's not everybody. A lot of people keep those sets together and enjoy them for many, many years, but be careful of that approach of completing a set and wanting to get rid of it right away. David?
Can you just give me an example, Jeremy, of like one of your living sets that you have right now? I've never heard you talk about that.
Yeah. So I collect, and this is not new. I think a lot of people know this about me, but Upper Deck's The Cup puts out the base set every year, and then they put out the gold patch parallel, and it comes out pretty much every year. Now they've started, it's not a full parallel set. Like they don't get patches for all the players, so they leave some off the checklist. It's like skip numbered for this, but that's basically it. And I've been collecting this for 15 years now. I've been working on it, and I'll show it to you. I've showed it a few times, but this is my Cup Gold Patches PC, and these are all, I can just start scrolling. There's 481 cards in here, and a lot of people know I collect these, and I get people sort of reaching out and saying, hey, I saw this one. So you can see here's the 05, 06s up here. It transitions to the 06s, 07s, 07, 08s. These are all game use patches. And I'm always chasing these down, like going back to these older years, you know, I might have 40 of 90 cards or 55 of 100 or whatever it is. It's just ongoing, and I can keep on going here. Like I said, there's almost 500 cards in my collection here, and so that's one of them. It's like a lifelong pursuit that will probably never end, and I don't want to complete it, because then what am I gonna like? It's done. The hunt, the chase is so much a part of the hobby. So there you go, David.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Days of Detriment says, very insightful conversation. I can relate to Jace's story. Isn't that nice? Thank you, Days of Detriment. Welcome to the chat. Chris here says, listen, don't overthink it. Your collecting strategies are going to change throughout your life. That's just how it goes. Right. And a follow-up from Luke Browning. At his age, collect parts of everything he enjoys. He will rein that in when it matters. So I agree with both of these comments, Jace, that just came in there. And I think that you're almost like this advice from Luke. You're trying to get ahead of it and rein it in now, is what I'm sensing from you. You're trying to mitigate the mistakes. You're trying to, not regret not buying something or buying something that you don't want. And like, it's so funny, guys, because, as I discover or rediscover new categories of cards that I'm collecting and really like going all in on and I'm not expensive stuff, but as I'm buying new cards, I think to myself, I knew about these cards 20 years ago when they were released, and I just didn't really care about them then, but I do now. If I cared about them then, imagine how cool my collection of them would be today. But the truth is, if I collected them back then, I might have got tired of them somewhere 10, 15 years ago, sold them off, and never cared about them again. I might have, had my fill of them back then. I'm having my fill of them now. So I guess my point there is, it happens when it happens. Don't beat yourself up too much about it. You can't go back in time anyway. So just kind of like Luke said in the comment before, do your best and you will evolve. You will evolve as you learn and gain experience and are exposed to more opinions, more thoughts, more cards, more card shows, and all these things. So I want to turn it back to you, Jace, for any feedback on all that. David, and we'll go to some more comments as well. But Jace, what do you think of all this?
Well, first of all, thanks for all the advice. I really appreciate you guys and all the comments. It's very nice. But yeah, I definitely agree with a lot of the points that were made. And I love the idea of a living set. And that's something I've thought about too with some of the cards that are more available and not necessarily ones that I have to buy right now. I like the idea of finding things organically as well. And, because it's also easy to just go on eBay and search for everything you want and buy it up for whatever price just to get it into your collection. But like you said, like the hunt is half the fun. So I like the idea of just coming across these things at good prices out of nowhere. And it's kind of a surprise to you when it does happen. But those are some of the best moments I've had, is when something that I wasn't really looking for purposely pops up out of nowhere. Oh, wow. That's the perfect copy for me. That's exactly what I wanted in the exact condition I wanted. And so, yeah, I think that I might have to take that approach as well. But at the same time, too, like I hear what you guys are saying. Like, basically, just chill out is the moral of the story, kind of. But also, when I really think about it, I really have come a long way already, and I'm maybe not giving myself enough credit for that too. Because, like I was saying 5 years ago, I mean, I was chasing the silver Prism rookie cards, PSA 10 base cards, and I would never touch some of those cards now. And so, speaking on some of the mistakes that I said I've made, well, the good thing about mistakes is that it teaches you, and that's how you learn. So I've definitely made a lot of mistakes that have taught me how to collect in a better way. And yeah, I guess it's the experience that is the fun part. And exactly, as I go on, maybe one thing matters to me a lot right now, but maybe in a few years it won't matter as much. But trying to figure that all out in the moment right now is probably not the best idea. Yeah. Just enjoy the ride.
Well, enjoy the ride, and it's almost like wear your mistakes as badges of experience and they're going to become part of your story. And I think you're going to like look back in the future in 20, 30 years and say, had I not made that mistake, I don't think I'd be where I am today. And that's okay. I think that's how life works. And I think that's how the hobby can work. Some really good comments. We're going to go to them, and then we're going to go to the next topic that Jace presented to me when we talked about him coming on. Eventually, Joe Perro is going to join the show, and David, you might stay on. We might swap it out. You're going to come back later anyway, but I'm going to go through some comments now. So pay attention, guys, because these are some good ones. Collector Charles says that Collector's MD is here to help if anyone needs it. No shame in asking for help with mental health issues and compulsive spending in the hobby. I agree. And I sit on the advisory board for Collectors MD, and it is a great option for anyone who does need some help if you're spending too much money in the hobby and it's out of control. Desert Shield Sniper says, card collecting is like stocks. You don't need every single stock with high potential in your portfolio. You can have 10 great cards and still have a great collection. Well said. Well said. Chris C says, Jace is on the right path. Sometimes you have to pounce if a card is rare. I had something like that happen a few months ago with a rare Barry Sanders card. You rarely see them raw, and graded are very expensive. Chris C says, mental health is more important than any piece of cardboard. And Fresh Prince says, protect your mental health. Days of Detriment says, I think Winning Podcast seems like a real great platform pushing passions of the hobby forward. Best of luck, Jace. Thank you to Days of Detriment for joining us. Jake Dahl, thank you. Likes my patch collection. So does Ken Fickle, thank you very much. Tommy says Jace is the boss. There you go, Tommy. Thank you for joining. YK, hey Jeremy, what's your scanning setup like? The scans look great. Would love to see a video on it if you haven't done one already. Appreciate that, YK. It's in the works. And Jim says Jace will fare well. He is processing and learning and listening. This is an early ingredient to your journey. Good luck to Jace. That's very nice comment from Jim right there, for sure. A couple more comments I want to grab here. Dave Snyder has a question for you, David. Do you have a card stand to display your slabs? Is PSA or tag your favorite place you buy vintage? First, and thank you, Dave Snyder, for the contribution. The super chat, I think they're called. And he also has another one for you, David Chase. Is Dallas or Chicago? So, David Chase, could you answer both of David Snyder's questions? And then we will go to his third super chat. Dave Snyder is helping keep the lights on here at Sports Cards Live. But let's go to David Chase. If you can answer Dave Snyder's questions, and we'll bring Joe on momentarily.
You're testing my short-term memory, Jeremy. But
here it is again. Here it is,
Chicago National, I like better than Dallas. I've never been to Dallas or been to Texas before. I'm sure it's a great place, but I have been to Chicago and I've been to the National. So I'll choose that. For display, that's a good one. Number one, I'm vintage, so I don't use tag, right? So most of my slabs are in PSA and SGC. I like them both. But if I had the choice, I'd rather be in PSA only because I feel like their long-term outlook looks like is going to be around, and SGC has, I hope that they're around, but there's a chance that they might not be. So if I had the choice, I'd do PSA, but I still buy SGC all the time, and probably half my collection is in SGC. Do I display my cards? No. I wouldn't do that to my wife. She tolerates this hobby of mine as much as possible. And if I had cards all around the house, she would tolerate it less. So what I do is I keep them in a safe where I don't actually look at my cards very often. But what I do is I scan my cards like Jeremy's fancy scanner, and I look at them all the time, literally every day. I page through them on my phone or my iPad, and I love them and view them that way. I don't need them to be around me. But when I look at some people's cards room and I see them, I'm jealous. I do think that they're cool.
Thank you for answering David Snyder's questions. David Chase, he had one for me. I'm going to bring that one up now and answer this one. He says, Jeremy, would you look at raw cards for a fee and recommend whether to grade? It's a great question, David. And I'm going to give you a longer answer. This is not a yes or no answer, but let me explain my thoughts on this. So, okay, I can give a yes or no answer, but then I have to explain why. My answer is no. I would not look at raw cards for a fee and recommend whether to grade. And here's why. Here's what I would do. I would look at cards for a fee. Sure, happy to get paid for my time. I would look at cards for a fee and tell you everything that I think about those cards. I would tell you what I'm seeing, what I'm not seeing, how I think they compare to other cards. And if you were to say to me, well, what do you think it would grade? I would say, Dave Snyder, I cannot predict inconsistency. I cannot predict what a grading company will grade. And the more recent the card is, the harder it becomes because of the production quality and the preservation just behavior that people have taken over the years. So I would not recommend to grade. Modern, there's not much to it. Like, it's either centered or it isn't, or it has a pit or whatever. In the world of vintage, though, I think grade everything. Honestly, I think grade, like, listen, I know Foul Ball and others out there are saying, oh, come on, raw is fine too. I know. I like my vintage cards slabbed. I do. So take that for what it's worth. So I would recommend to grade it. The question is, are you going to be happy with the grade you get back? And even if I think that the card, if you want a 6, you say, Jeremy, would you recommend I grade this? Do you think it's going to come back a 6? And I think it's 6 worthy. I can't tell you whether to grade it or not, because just because I think it would grade a 6 and it would be a 6 according to the technical written standards, doesn't mean it's coming back a 6. It could come back a 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8. You just don't know because of the inconsistency. And I think it's just getting worse with the expansion, the impending expansion, and the expansion we've had so far. So I would never grade cards for a fee and recommend whether to grade, but I would review cards for a fee and tell you what I'm seeing and tell you what I think, where I think it has eye appeal or doesn't have eye appeal. But I cannot predict how grading companies and nominally paid people are going to, in a very monotonous job, which makes it very hard for them to find people and have people stick around for a long time. I can't do that. That would be like me being a grader and grading the same way that they grade, which is, inconsistently. So I couldn't do it that way. Long answer to a simple question, but I hope that gets my point across. Thank you for the contribution, David Snyder. Desert Shield Sniper says, you just answered your own question, Jace. Make it fun for yourself and enjoy the process. That is what collecting cards is really about. And then Jacob Dahl says, it's never a bad thing to take a break from the hobby now and then. Sometimes it can be a good thing. Yeah, I don't know that listen, I could never take a break myself, but I was actually messaging with a friend today who told me that he just came back from a 1 week retreat without his phone, and I'm like, good luck getting caught up back at work. And I'm jealous of your retreat without the phone. I don't know if I'll ever be able to do that. So, okay, David, go ahead.
I just want to mention one thing about taking a break. You don't have to always take a break from the hobby completely, but you can take a break from buying for a little while, right? You can still consume content. You can still look at your cards, put them in different orders, all those kind of things. I mean, there's so much content out there. Make spreadsheets, make your want list. So I'm just saying that you can still take a little bit of a breather from buying when you feel like you bought too many, even if you're not taking a full break from the hobby in general.
Absolutely.
That's good advice. Jace, do you have any thoughts, any comments on everything we just kind of talked, any of those comments that came through? Did anything stick out to you there?
Well, yeah, I will say I did take a little bit of a break, I guess, in the last couple of years. Not for a couple of years, but at some point along the way, I did take a break because I got burnt out a little bit, mostly because I was just spending too much time looking for cards. Like, I probably spend like a few hours every day looking at cards, like not just for fun. Like, I'm always scrolling eBay, trying to just checking my save searches, seeing what pops up. And also, for whatever reason, like whenever I do take those breaks, even for a week, I go and I check those searches and then something sold. I missed something. In that 1 week that I wasn't looking, the one card I wanted ends up selling. So I try not to take as many breaks now just because I always want to be on my toes. But yeah, when it gets a little overwhelming or just becomes, too monotonous, too much scrolling, too much screen time, I definitely take a little bit of a breather.
Yeah. There's a one comment that just came in a few minutes ago here. Yeah, Chris here says, if I'm being brutally honest, you'd be better off taking a break from social media than the hobby, which I think is very a very good point right there. Foul Ball says, great everything, not my hobby. No, I know, Foul Ball, you do not need graded cards. And that's wonderful, you know. So but I collect how I collect. We all collect how we collect. And I think it's good to be accepting of how other people collect, as long as you're not hurting somebody, as long as you're not trying to mislead anybody, you're not trying to rip anybody off, you know, all those things. Collect however you want to collect. Dave Snyder, I can foresee a PSA submission location in Dallas in the future. And how can you send me cards to look at? Email me, sportscardsliveshow@gmail.com. David, if you email me, we can figure something out. I'd love to help you out. sportscardsliveshow@gmail.com. We can start with a private video chat and go from there. Joe, do you want to jump on the screen? You're back there. You just want to come on. David, do you want to stick around still?
If you want me to.
Well, I mean, do you want to take a break? You want to go? You need a bathroom break. You need a meal break. You got to go say goodnight to the family.
I'll come back in 20 minutes. How about that?
Sure. Okay.
But let me just say hi to Joe really quickly. I just want to wait.
Okay, sure.
He's my
buddy. See him later too. But hi, Joe.
I know. Hi, Joe.
Hey. Good evening, everybody. Good to see you.
I'll see you in 20 minutes, guys.
Sounds good.
Okay, David. Jace, please meet Joe. Joe, please meet Jace.
Hey, Jace.
It's a pleasure.
Oh, man.
Nice to meet you, Joe. What's going on?
Nice to meet you too. I got Kawhi Leonard as a side PC, you know, kind of a minor one. He took down my Warriors in 2019. I was actually there.
Yes, sir. Oh, wow.
They clinched Game 6. They did the whole podium thing. The whole, arena was singing the Canadian national anthem. And then I had this one moment where I kind of ran over to where the players go into the tunnel, and Kawhi was all by himself. And he just came. I was so close to him. He just looked so gratified and happy to have won that chip, and he was all by himself, and I was just like, damn, there goes Kawhi Leonard. So anyway,
that's really cool.
Yeah, well, hey, Joe, welcome back again. Good to see you, buddy. And so you've been listening to the episode so far? Okay, yep. Cool. There's one more topic that we're going to get to that Jace brought. Just going to do a couple more comments and we'll get into and whatever you want to kind of say hello with as well, Joe. But Jake here says raw is the new graded. Chris C says this chat is missing a Bob Boozle, which is true, very true and quite noticeable. And Flint Hall says, can you please discuss the PSA labels and how the Lighthouse label is effectively the only safe slab, as if you send in old slabs, they will likely change your grade. Yeah, that's just the change. All I can say that is the grading standards change. They could change again. They likely will change again. The standards change and the adherence to the standards change. And then even the consistency is, just a wild card on top of all of those things. So, Skeppy wants you to know, Jace, that Joe is a billionaire that lives on an island and joins us on occasion. Dexflow, I had no idea Joe, who is here every week, is a new collector. That's awesome. And no, that's not Joe. Joe's not a new collector, Dexflow. You're out of context on that. Joe's a lifelong collector, just like you and me, most likely. Okay, Joe, good to see you. Anything going on in your world you want to say before I introduce Jace's next topic?
Well, I was. Thank you, Jeremy, and good evening to the illustrious Sports Cards Live chat, and great to have you on, Jace. I've been listening, and I think we've all sort of chimed in. The one thing I would maybe also contribute is that with whatever lane, like let's just say Kawhi Leonard, because that's a market I know a little bit better than hockey, there are still lots of interesting rabbit holes in terms of which brand, which kind of era, mem or shiny or, combinations of both. And that's where I've, I guess, grown a little bit more just in my awareness, is thinking a little bit more about not just doing, the standard prism silver, kind of, but looking for opportunities, with some of the maybe lesser known sets sometimes, or, seeing what it would take to get into a one of one a cool Kawhi card, maybe third or fourth year. And then, you know, if you're a Toronto fan, you get real siloed in terms of like getting them in Toronto jerseys, which there's only a year or a year and change worth of opportunities there. So like within that, just that lane in and of itself, I think there's a lot of richness to researching and keeping your eyes open, and then trusting your instincts. Like we're giving you advice, but my advice to you would be like, once you do the research, trust your own instincts and use that combination of a card that you find attractive and or compelling for some reason, and also, you know, your PC, your sort of North Star of like a Kawhi Leonard or a Connor McDavid or whatever it might be.
What do you think, Jace? Makes sense to you?
He's speaking my language for sure. Yeah, that's exactly that's where I'm at right now. Is kind of trying to find the value plays, like, I guess, quote unquote, you know, because Prism is just, it's so expensive. I mean, any Kawhi Leonard Prism Gold is like a 4-figure card, even, you know. So for me, I can't really justify going that crazy on one card in particular. So I've definitely, like, I recently picked up a Raptors year Kawhi. It's the 2018 Panini Spectra Gold Kawhi Leonard.
Nice.
So that was a nice one, but you know, it just makes sense for me too, because it's the perfect price I want. It represents the exact memory of Kawhi that lives in my head always. And yeah, just the perfect card for my collection.
Awesome. Good stuff. Okay, Chris Hoge is in the back. We're going to bring him up in just a minute, Chris. So chill for a few more minutes back there. And I want Chris to, so Jace, you're going to stick around longer. Are you okay to stick around longer than planned? Because I want to bring up your the other topic you had, and I know for sure Hoge is going to love the topic. I love it. Joe will enjoy it too.
I might love it. I might actually love it.
You might actually love it, but I know that I'm certain that Hoge will have some really good things to share about it. And I'm glad that you're still on, Jay. So stick around. But before we do that, I just want to, this is a off topic. I want to speak to the chat and to the listeners in the audience for a moment. And I just deleted a comment from the chat. The chat on Sports Cards Live is a very, very important and integral part of this show. As you all know, 6 years, the chat is what makes this show. And I spend a lot of time and energy reviewing it. It distracts me from the conversations with the panelists in oftentimes, and that's okay. That's okay. But I asked the chat members to respect the chat and to, talk amongst yourself, have fun, have a party, but don't bring any drama from any other YouTube channels into the Sports Cards Live chat. That is not welcome or accepted here. And I'm just deleting I'll delete the comments, but I will ban people from talking in this chat if you're going to bring drama from elsewhere. If you have drama with somebody, take it to them directly. It is not welcome on this channel. Okay, I just want to say that. So please respect that. 99% of people do, but every so often I see it, and it's not what this environment with this community is about. So please and thank you. Okay, with that out of the way, I want to quickly, Collector Charles has a comment here. He says, do you see BGS making a comeback where they've renovated their slabs and their labels? I kind of do, Charles. I kind of do. I think that they are in a unique position where they are not just a new grading company. They are a grading company built on the Beckett brand. And the Beckett brand is probably the best brand in the hobby with the most longevity, the most respected name. We grew up on Beckett. Some people grew up on PSA. We grew up on Tops. We grew up on O-Pee-Chee. But when it comes to the grading companies, I think that Beckett does have a chance. That's just my comment on it. I'm sure some people might feel different, and that's okay. But I just wanted to address that question that Charles put into the chat. Okay, Chris, we're going to bring you on. Chris, please say hi, and Jace, please meet Jace. Jace, please meet the legendary Chris Hoge.
Great to meet you, Jace.
You as well, sir. Nice to meet you.
So the topic that Jace brought up with me that he wanted to talk about, and this is so here's how me and Jace even started talking and how he ended up on the show. A few weeks ago, I don't know, Jace, 5 or 6 episodes ago of Sports Cards Live, we had a topic in the title that we didn't get to, and Jace reached out to me and he said, he says to me, hey, do you think you're gonna visit that topic again in the future? Because I was really interested in it and you guys didn't get to it. I said, yeah, maybe we will. And I said, well, hey, maybe you come on and we talk about it if you're so interested. And that's how this whole thing came up. We met at the expo. Friend of the channel, friend of mine, friend of Chris's, maybe even Joe's, Max Putnam from Hoops Collectors was at the Sport Card Expo. And Jace was a listener of his. I had the pleasure of introducing them to each other. And so Jace and I have a history, and it's an honor to be able to introduce Jace to Max, introduce Jace to Joe and to David and to Chris and to Josh when we bring him on. So all that said, that's why this next topic is what brought Jace onto the show in the first place. And the topic was all about the pros and cons of sharing your want list or your targets publicly on social media. Chris, do you remember this topic? I feel like you may or may not. I don't, but I'm sure you're familiar with the topic. But before you even jump in, Chris, I want to let Jace present it in his own words, or if I nailed it, Jace, that's great too. But let me ask you this actually before we get started. What is it about the topic that interested you? Why did you want to talk about it? What are you running into? And then we'll get into it. And we're going to bring Josh on now too. We're going to go 5-way. Josh, here you come. Welcome, Josh Adams. What's up, buddy?
Hey guys, how are you?
Good. Say hi to Jace. He's
Jace. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Josh.
All right, Jace. Back to you. Let it put the question in your own words, please, and then we'll start talking about it.
Sure. Yeah. Well, you pretty much nailed it. But essentially, the feeling is like asking for help, but also there's competition out there, basically. You know what I mean? So it's like a lot of the people that I follow on Instagram are people who are looking for the same stuff that I'm looking for. So I really appreciate their help or their knowledge about the topics or the cards that I like. But at the same time, I don't necessarily want to put a target on the cards that I'm after, especially if people don't even know they're up for grabs, maybe, because that's another thing too. Maybe, they slip through the cracks a lot of the time. But if I'm the one to post it on my social media, hey, anyone got one of these? Well, all of a sudden I could be the one losing the auction. So it's basically, competition versus finding help in the hobby.
Jace, I think it's a worthy question. I think a lot of people probably think the same thing, have the same concerns. I was thinking that just earlier today. There's a certain card, a type of card. It's an insert set from a year where I'm like, I think I want to chase a bunch of those. And I thought about putting a post on Instagram being like, hey, does anyone have, if you have any of these, let me know. I'm looking for cards from this set. Hit me up. I didn't put it out there because I thought, well, you never know. Some people might just go find them and hold them hostage on me and try and get more money out of me than I'd otherwise have to pay. That I think is the downside. But we see so many people doing this and saying, hey, looking for this. And maybe it's because the cards are so hard to find and they're willing to pay whatever it takes. They're willing for somebody to hold it hostage. They just want to find the card. But when you have a limited budget, you can't necessarily do that, or you don't want to necessarily do that. So maybe you don't do that. And I think that's the question, right? Is like, what is the strategy here? And so I thought, Chris, Hoge, because I mean, listen, you're very, you're like a sharpshooter, you're very specific in what you're adding, but you also, people know what you're collecting. So I want to get you to first weigh in on this tension that we have as collectors in the world, in this world and time of social media, where people are out there to help us, but some people are out there to hurt us as well. How do you navigate that, Chris? And what advice do you give to Jace and other people?
Yeah, it's a great topic, Jace. Really enjoyed Jace's appearance tonight. It reminds me, for reasons I can't quite express, of what hobby content was like 5 or 6 years ago. I felt like it had a youthful vigor and an exploratory dimension that Jace has, which is making me really nostalgic for that 5, 6, 7 years ago era. So I love that. And I think how I would approach this question, I think this question is definitely going to be different. The answer is going to tilt in different ways depending upon who's answering it. So I think that if I were Jace, I'd make a pros and a cons list. And I would say, what are the pros of publishing my want list and what are the cons? And I think the cons are obvious, and I won't necessarily like waste your time or anybody's time coming up with them, but I wanted to point out some of the pros because I think the pros are less obvious.
Agreed.
And so some of the pros are this. If you take a longer term view, it can help you build a network. And it can help you build a network in a couple different ways. One, you develop an identity. People see that you're looking for somebody and they say, okay, Jace is the guy who's looking for Kawhi Leonard select golds. Now they know that. Now they know that they have a potential person that they could sell them to. Now, sometimes that works out to the positive, sometimes to the negative, because certain people know I collect certain things. And I've had people tell me at shows like, I'm the exit plan. People are comfortable to buy a certain card because they know that they can dump it on me. So that can create weird second and third order effects. But the positive is that it can help cards find you because you develop an identity as somebody who's trying to acquire those cards. And then that just has network effects. That helps you meet people, that helps people identify you, that helps people, get to know you. And look, when you put yourself out there, it creates all types of things. Some people are going to make fun of you. Some people are going to mock you. Many people are going to earnestly try to help you. Some people are going to try to take advantage of you. But I think over the long haul, the more you can develop an identity as a person who's looking for X, Y, and Z, the more you can magnetize those cards, the more you can actually recruit them and bring them to you, I think, overall.
What do you think, Jace? I mean, he makes a good point, and there's some good points in the chat too, but what's your initial response? And then let's hear from Joe and Josh on the topic as well. But let's go to you first, Jace.
Yeah, I definitely agree. That's one thing I guess, somewhat struggled to do is put my identity as a collector out there. And as I was saying earlier, I'm all over the place, or I have been a little bit all over the place. So if you went to my Instagram and looked at all the cards, you might not really know exactly what I'm looking for, even though I do post my PC on there. But there's still so many things that you really couldn't say exactly what guy I am. So I agree that I want to make it more known just so that people know. And I'll probably help myself out a little bit by doing that.
Jace, let me jump in on that for a second, okay? Because here's the thing. We are acutely aware of what we collect. I know what I collect very well. You know what you collect very well, Jeremy, Joe, Josh. But other people think about us for just the slimmest of seconds, if at all. If we want to actually build an identity and brand ourselves, we have to shove it in people's faces. And then maybe they'll remember it for an instant or two. And it's awkward. It's awkward because some people are going to hate that and some people are going to get it. You really have to be a billboard, in my opinion. I think it can seem really obvious to me. This is the stuff I collect. It's right there on my page, but most of the time, you'd be amazed at how many people listen to a podcast that I do and completely they'll say something about a card that I didn't bring up at all, and it's well, okay. But anyway, that's the point that I want to jump in on, Jace, right there is boldness. Fortune favors the bold in this scenario.
For sure. And the law of attraction too, you got to put it out there to get it back to you as well.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well said.
Right.
Yeah, well said, Chris. I you said you got to shove it down their face. The other thing I would say to Jace too, when it comes to Kawhi, for example, is you don't necessarily have to say that I'm looking for the Prism Gold. You could say I'm looking for rare Kawhi cards. You could be more general and see if anyone brings them to you. Make sure you're sharing those cards, not just to your main page, but to your story as well to get the word out there. You're here on this podcast. Maybe that will help reach somebody. You just never know. So that's kind of what I thought of that I wanted to share. But Joe, what about you? Any thoughts from you on this? Do you how do you kind of broadcast what you're looking for? Or are you more, I know the answer to this because I talk to Joe a lot, but what do you think of the conversation, Joe? What do you want to add to this?
All great points that have already been made. I think Jay Lee and only a couple other people that I actually do have something that I am keeping under wraps. But that's pretty much brand new for me. Like I've more often than not, it's about a card that's at auction, or competitive urges in the space around certain things that I think, I'm a competitive person, but I don't have that much money. But within that, like there's a Fanatic Sunday Night Jackie 53 Jackie that is a 4.5 that has, that is a 4. It has a sticker. It has 2 stickers actually, an old PWCC one and also an NBA. And it's got my 4.5 that's got a sticker to 30% beat. And this is frustrating me, and it's almost like I'm looking at that 4.5 and thinking, could I move out of my 4 to get to that 4.5 backwards? Sorry, could I get out of my 4.5 to get into what I perceive as a better 4? So I guess that's just a long-winded way of saying it. It really depends on the situation. I think there are going to be some moments where you want to keep your cards a little close to your chest, especially in negotiations. But like Hoj said, it's also really, I think, bringing some attention to what your collector lane is can yield returns down the road with, people knowing that they might, you might be a good trade partner.
Well said, Joe. I think that by the way, David Chase, you're on the screen. If you didn't know that yet, you're back on with us. We're going 6-way now, everybody. Let's hear from Josh. Do you have any thoughts on this? I mean, I feel like I know Josh's hobby identity. I have a feel for what he collects. He's on here talking about it. What about you, Josh? Do you like to broadcast your targets?
Yeah, I mean, as a fellow collector who's all over the place, I get it. Like I like a lot of different things, so tell people what I want, and you never know what someone will hit you up with. So it's always good letting people know what you're looking for, just so you can find it. I doubt anything I'm looking for is going to draw that much competition anyway, so it's fine with me. And no one really knows who I am anyway, so it doesn't really make a difference. So it all works out.
Jay, how about you, David? You've been listening?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just think that Jace has just a great head on his shoulders. And I just think that whatever you decide to do, I just feel like the things that we do now are not always what we do in the future. And the things that I did 10 years ago are not the things that I collected then also. So, this is just a fun journey, and sometimes changing throughout the years is part of the fun. So, I know that you have this thing under control, Jace. I love it.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead, Joe, please.
Well, and I think for me at least, the evolution has taken the route of more and more around rarity and scarcity. So as I've moved into areas or targets that are more scarce, I think there is some degree of being scrupulous in how you're acknowledging your interest, and that's because you could be after a card. You mentioned the Spectra. Maybe you want the black version of that, Kawhi in a Raptors uniform. That would look really nice, right? I think they have a Nebula in Spectra, and so at that point, Hoj's advice might actually be apropos, because I don't think that's a card that everyone in the world wants. So maybe it would draw it out. Maybe that would be a good example of someone knowing, wow, he's looking for that card, and you could maybe access it. But there are other cards, and a little bit more in other people's lanes than my own, but where you definitely want to keep a low profile, because there are so many, the Kobe market, as Jay Lee has been reminding us, how much adulation, adoration, even his own son has for Kobe.
Yeah, I don't know if I've talked about that on the show, but I might have said on a different show. We were shooting hoops in the gym the other day, me and my 7-year-old. I've never talked about Kobe Bryant in or around him. He goes to shoot the ball, yells Kobe, and shoots the ball. I was proud. I loved it, but I was like, how do you even know that? He couldn't answer how he knew it. He's 7. It blew my mind. I thought it was hilarious. Jace, any sort of final comments on the topic from you? There's a bunch in the chat I want to get to, so we'll hear your final thoughts on this, and then we'll go to comments from the chat, and then we'll move along.
Sure. Yeah. So one thing I didn't mention earlier is that I did have a positive experience with this already. Like, I'm talking about my fears of creating competition for myself, but I actually, when I was looking for that Spectra Gold, it was up at auction. I ended up reaching out to a fellow collector. His name's Johnsy's PC on Instagram. He's a great guy, but he's really down the championship Raptors lane, and so I know that he knows his stuff. And that was my first championship Kawhi card. So I wanted to get someone else's opinion. I wanted to see kind of where it might rank, as far as like compared to the selects or the prisms and whatnot. And yeah, he gave me great advice, and he gave me the exact reassurance that I needed to go for the card, I guess you could say. And like you said, Chris, like I built a friendship now, and he knows that I'm into the same cards as him. Maybe one day he lets go of something, and he knows I'm interested. You know what I mean? Or
Exactly.
either way, whether that happens or not, it's just good to build connections with people who are interested in the same things that you are, and so you can just have more conversations and just more opportunities as well.
Right on. Well, good. So I think that was a good discussion. I think it's one that we've never really had on here before. We were going to have it several weeks ago, but we didn't. So I'm going to go to some comments and we'll go from there. Flint Hall here said that Chris Hoge is a goddamn genius. He is the Albert Einstein of sports cards. He is the gold standard of this hobby, and he is now blushing, but I kind of do agree. What's up? Let's go. Oh, Chris wants to respond.
I'm
Go
just glad I remembered to sign into my burner account before I sent that to the chat. That would have been embarrassing if I had sent that from my name.
Let's go, Jordan. Good evening. Welcome. Mike Good says, I think more collectors would rather see SGC grow and get bigger rather than Beckett. Mike, I disagree, and I might be wrong, but I think that I think in the world of vintage, yes, more vintage collectors would maybe rather see SGC grow, but I think modern collectors would lean Beckett personally, but just my perspective. Alex Hiddell says, I like having at least the illusion of 4 major grading companies to choose from. Fair. Luke Browning says, I have a card I've been chasing for 5 years, and I have no intention of making that public. As Jace said, Target is where I want to be the lone hunter. Very fair. Chris says, did something in these streams change? Because I never had ads before, but I got them now. Nope. Sports Cards Live does get ads, but I set them to the minimum. I swear I set them to the minimum. So, but I do highly recommend YouTube Premium. Joe will admit, Joe will agree with that. Hey, it's life-changing, isn't it, Joe?
Hallelujah for Premium. No more ads. It's beautiful.
No, I've been doing it for years. It's the best, Chris. It's worth every cent of those $15 a month. Skeppy says, it depends on how available the cards are. If they are somewhat available all the time, you can keep that search to yourself. If the cards are very rare, you may not ever find them unless you ask or post about them. Very fair, smart comment. E. Young says, I think constant sharing, posting of the player or set on socials could definitely help with being identified. Foul Ball, it's a great question. Why do we need to have a hobby identity? It's a great question. And my answer is you don't need to have one, but you do. Foul Ball, you have a hobby identity, whether you want to admit it or think you do or don't, you do. And it's maybe from your activity in the chats on YouTube. You have I know your hobby identity. I think a lot of other people do too. But you don't need to have it. But I think we sometimes back into them. And the other thing is that the hobby is a community. And when you're a member of a community, you have an identity. You stand out as yourself, your unique person, your unique approach. People are interested in it. So you have one, whether you like it or not, is the first thing. If you are out there in any social media environment, like a YouTube chat room, so you have one, whether you like it or not, but it's the way the world works, man. Like you go to school, you have an identity, you play on a sports team, you go to work every day, you have your identity, you meet with your clients, you have your identity. So do you need to have one? Probably not. Hermits have the identity of being a hermit, but nobody knows about them. And to the panel, any comments on any of these, please note them, write them down like Chris does, and save them for a little bit later when we open that up. Skeppy here said it also depends on the popularity of the player. If you are collecting something that the hobby as a whole doesn't like, you can pretty much do whatever you want and not compromise anything. Probably true. And Luke Browning says, if you know where the card is and it is a very rare card, one of one or close, why bring greater attention to it? I think that's a really fair comment. I will say, though, that I think the whole point to this is when you don't know where it is, Luke. If you don't know where it is and you're looking for the cards, then maybe that's why we're talking about broadcasting your targets. But Luke makes a very good point. In the event that you do know where it is, maybe don't bring attention to it. Reach out directly to the person that has it. So all good comments there. I want to just go to the panel now. All other 5 of you on the screen with me, and just put up a finger or a hand if any of you want to respond to any of those comments that we just kind of blew through there. Chris's finger is up. Please, Chris.
The finger is raised. Okay. Hobby identity. I thought that was a great comment from Foul Ball. And I just would like to use it as a reminder to sort of underscore that you don't need to cultivate a hobby identity. In fact, this historically has been a hobby of public-facing people, as well as many, many more people who collect in the privacy and the security of their own collecting fortress. And they don't need to put themselves out there at all. They don't need to have a social media page. They don't need to go to shows. They can, but there's certainly no requirement. There is no necessity whatsoever, in my opinion, to cultivating or trying to refine or polish or develop a hobby identity. I just kind of hearing myself like sort of give the advice to say like, hey, it can help with your hobby identity. It kind of sounds like marketing slop. It sounds like a slogan. I get why that would be a turnoff. And so I think like the other side of the coin that Foul Ball points out, which is great, is that people have collected privately forever. And Jeremy, I'm sure you would agree, the vast majority of this hobby is not showing their stuff on social media and going to turning up at card shows. They are collecting privately and on their own time.
Yeah, I mean, as the hobby is growing this year and I'm at card shows, more and more people that I'm meeting at my booth and walking around are like, this is my first card show. I've been collecting for 15 years. I've never been to a show. I'm not on social media. So the hobby's a lot bigger than what we see on Instagram or anywhere else. Joe.
I want to respond to Foul Ball's, the identity question. And I guess where my brain goes is we don't need to, but perhaps just, as the great existentialist philosopher John Paul Sartre said, we are sort of
Sartre, of course.
Sartre, the French people in the audience can help me out with that. Wagner. We're the results of our actions, right? Our choices, the choices that we make do essentially align with who we are and what our life amounts to. And so from that lens, we don't need an identity, but an identity is formed by our actions, by our choices. And in the case of, collecting, our acquisitions say something, our acquisitions and, our release of certain assets say something about our identity, whether we like it or not.
Well said, Joe. Yeah. Anyone else have any thoughts on that? Josh, David, Jace, anyone have anything quick to jump in with that? If not, no hands go up, then I'm gonna move on. That's all good. I'm gonna do a few more comments here now. Charles says networking is paramount in our hobby. I think it is. Listen, for me, it is. I love it, but I'm also an extroverted person who likes talking to people and hearing their approaches and all that. So I get off on learning people's hobby. Heck, I created a platform just so people can learn more about putting words behind their identity, if you will, or at least their core motivations within the hobby. Midlife Cards Greg says, what if your hobby identity is that of a pirate? And then in parentheses, he says, asking for a really good looking, extremely handsome and well put together friend. And I don't know if he's talking about me or not, but I'm considering adding a pirate to my collection right now.
What?
And so, although I've recently been told that I'm far from the number one bald guy on the hobby on the Sports Card Clubhouse network. So Greg is likely not talking about me right there. Chris C says social media can help you find great cards, and I've added several more recently due to it. Absolutely. The other Chris says, I'm stubborn. I don't pay for things that are free. Talking about YouTube Premium. Chris, enjoy the ads. That's all I can is enjoy the ads. Chris C says the vast majority of this hobby are private individuals, and that will never change. And I think that is probably true in many ways. Never is a long word because, you know, if we have chips in our brains 50 or 100 years from now, you may not be able to escape it, but hopefully it doesn't come down to that. So, okay.
Just a real quick point.
Yeah. Go ahead, Joe.
Just for those people that I was averse to paying anything for YouTube for many years. And I just discovered that there's a YouTube Premium Lite, which is significantly cheaper than the full YouTube Premium. So I think it's $7.99. For me, it's totally worth it to not, you know, because I for better, for worse, I listen to hobby content at all hours of the night.
Yeah, no, good. Listen, I know I've loved YouTube Premium since I got it. And, you know, I'm not sponsored by YouTube, so I'm just telling you what I think. Skevy says, wow, Jeremy collecting pirates. You mean like Stargell or Clemente? No, I mean actually literally being inspired by my friend Greg, who collects pirate cards, and not even being inspired, but being exposed to it, and talking to Joe, who went through the same thing. You know, you don't know about it until you know about it, and then you see it, and then you talk about it. Like, maybe I want to add a pirate card to. I have a new Grail. I've identified, and I'm after a new Grail. I'm not telling anybody until I get it.
Captain Morgan?
It's not. You're not going to guess it.
Okay, because I'm looking at the Captain Morgan of the illustrious N192. I'm completely oblivious to what the actual pirate set is, but it's Greg would know.
Yeah, I'm sure he would. I do want a pirate card, but I just want one, just as a representative.
Maybe you should announce it, and it'll attract itself to you, Jay Lee. Like, maybe we should all know about it, and then we'll make sure that card gets to you. Or
they're not that hard to find. I think I'll be okay. I think I'll find it. But there's another comment here. Situational Adventure says that YouTube Premium skips the ads, but also keeps playing in the background. This is one I forgot about. You can be on your phone watching YouTube without having premium. As soon as you go to a different app, YouTube closes. You can't keep watching. Once you get premium, it keeps it on top. You can go to any other app on your phone, and YouTube still, that video still plays. That to me is amazing. That was amazing as well. Okay, Luke Browning here said, example, whether he has efforted his hobby identity. Chris Hoge is more known than Chris McGill. Many people may not even know what Hoge refers to, but that is his identity. Ain't that the truth, Luke? People just know him as they don't even know him as Chris Hoge. A lot of people just know him as Hoge. You might not. And then I've had people write to me Hoge. They're like, next time I have Hoge on the show, Hoge. I'm like, oh, that's. I feel so special that I came up, that I was part of the original Hoj. Not part of it, but was like, that was my original favorite pot. So those of you who don't know, Hoj stands for House of Jordans, which was the name of Chris and Christina and your cousin when you started your first content back in 2017 or whatever it was. That's what Hoj is. So go ahead, Joe.
Well, I was just going to say that would be a really good trivia question: is what was the cousin's name, or is the cousin's name? I'm sure he's still alive. I'm sure. Hopefully, God bless. But he was good, and I know he shifted lanes and went into some other stuff. But yeah, those were the days. I remember being in the chat. I remember Christina's corner, the artistic reckoning that she used to do with each episode, like a 10 or 15 minute aesthetics review of a particular issue. And I learned so much from those. I didn't always apply the lessons that they were dealing down, but I was attracted to them, and I believed in them. It's just very disciplined in their.
Are they still out there, Hoj? Can you still listen to House of Jordans on?
You sure can. Yeah, it's on all the podcast platforms. I actually just tacked on the Hojcast. I just tacked that onto the end of the House of Jordan. So if you subscribe to that podcast feed anywhere, just go back to the beginning of it, and it's the 40-something House of Jordans episodes. We put out one a month.
Well, here's a little throwback. This is for Christina. And if you have listened to a House of Jordans episode, or you're going to, you'll know what I'm talking about. KRISTINAS PC on Instagram. You can find me, KRISTINAS PC on Instagram. That was how they always had their own way of delivering how to find them on IG. Mike Double V says Jeremy is going for the Skeens patch. Oh, how did you figure that out? How did you know that I was going to go for the Skeens? No, I do. I legitimately have identified what I consider to be a grail, a hobby grail for me, and I'm going to find one. And I've told nobody about this. Not even David Chase, not even Joe Perro. Nobody knows what this new grail is that I'm going to chase, and I'm going to find one, and then I'm going to tell you all what I'll show it off at that point. But I got to find it first.
Wait. I mean, don't tell us what it is, but give us a little bit more than what that is. Is this something that is a modern or vintage kind of card?
Vintage.
Is it very low pop?
Haven't checked pops. Probably.
How long has it been on your radar?
Not long at all.
Is it sports?
Not answering.
I thought he already told us it was a genre, a pirate genre at least. I
know what you're talking about?
No. Those are two separate thoughts from me there.
Okay, then I misunderstood that. So it's not a pirate card.
It's not the Blackbird that he's going for. So
Blackbeard, no, it's not. Foul ball calls out Captain Hook. I do want to. Listen, Greg. Midlife Greg, one of my partners on, by the way, if you're not yet subscribed to Sports Card Clubhouse, please go and subscribe to Sports Card Clubhouse. Some exclusive content over there. You'll see me there. You'll eventually see all the regulars here over there, and amongst many other great content creators. But our show is called The Hangover. The Sports Cards live show on the Sports Card Clubhouse is called The Hangover. So please go. We have one episode so far. We're going to record the next one on Monday, and we'll be doing one pretty much as often as we can. It's meant to be weekly, but it likely won't be every single week. We'll get them like 3 weeks a month at least, sometimes 4 for sure.
Can we tease what's coming up this week?
Okay, go ahead, Joe. Tease away.
Well, I mean, it emerged organically by my sharing my 48 leaf Jackie with Mr. David Chase, who was shocked that he had not seen the card, and I tried to explain to him, well, it was a strange convergence of returning from the Ontario show with the 49 Bowman Jackie, but then also his story hitting the YouTube airwaves in full effect, and everybody being so drawn into that my little pickup, my little 48 leaf pickup, and so we also have, obviously, since that time, David's picked up his own, and Jeremy has all along had his card, the one that's centered the way it's supposed to be centered at a very high level. In fact, I think there was a nice comp, sorry to say that word, I'll go wash my mouth out with soap, but a comp that was that emerged in the Fanatics premiere that I think is favorable for yours, Jay Lee.
Yeah, there was a very favorable comp just 2 nights ago on the same card as the SGC6. Wasn't quite as nice as mine either.
I agree. Yours is actually I would say quite a bit nicer. I quite a bit nicer.
Yeah.
So what should we do, Joe? What should we do on the Hangover now that we have all this?
Well, what I want, Jay Lee's been very difficult. I've been saying, can't you just be the screen sharer, and can I send you all the images of the cards, and you can be the person that's doing all the screen shares? Up to this point, he's resisted that for some reason, but hopefully we can, win.
You sent me the pics. I have the pics. You sent me them. They're ready to go.
Good. Good. You got David's cards. You got.
Well, you can actually you can send me. We could do screens. We can do screen shares of them and share the actual images.
Well, David, send yours over to Jay Lee, so he has all of them. He has all the.
So that and the Jackie 48 leaf Jackies are going to be just one part of the next episode of The Hangover, which we'll publish on YouTube, on Sports Card Clubhouse YouTube, Tuesday or Wednesday. We're going to record it Monday, so it'll go out Tuesday or Wednesday. And well, hey, Greg, who is one of the partners over there, might even help me know what day is best to publish it, because I'm not sure. But anyway, we'll get that out there. There's gonna be some other topics. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Like I said earlier on the show, I have a list building of topics to discuss on The Hangover that is getting as long as Hoge's list of notes that he's got in his back pocket for this show in the final hour. Okay, guys, listen. Let's Jace, I want to thank you for coming on, first of all, buddy. We've kept you almost an hour longer than intended, but I really hope you had a fun time. I hope you found this interesting and useful and valuable for you in your time tonight. And I know that the guys loved meeting you. I think the chat really enjoyed having you. And listen, to me, you guys, Jace is like a young guy who is open to vintage, modern, all of it. He wants to do the hobby right. He wants to collect, build a meaningful collection. That's what we want. And I think that's what we want in this hobby. We want people who want to build meaningful collections with intention that they love and they're going to enjoy and that will evolve over time. 25 years from now, that collection can totally turn over. That is A-okay, just fine. You don't need to feel any which way about that, except that you are collecting as you collect day to day, making yourself happy. And I think that's wonderful. So thank you, Jace, for joining, sharing your part of it, where you are on your journey with people. And Chris C says, Jace is awesome. So that's nice, Chris C. Appreciate that. And it's been a pleasure having you and getting to know you. And I look forward to seeing you at future shows and getting to know you better over the years, Jace. So thanks for joining.
It's been my pleasure, Jeremy. Thank you for having me, guys. I just wanted one final thought, because I'm so glad you watched The Sandlot today. At the end of that movie, Mr. Myrtle, they go into his house, and he's got the whole setup of all his baseball memorabilia. He says, look at that stuff. Look at that stuff, guys. That's who I want to be in 30 years. I want to be a Mr. Myrtle. I want to be able to show my grandkid and say, guys, these are my memories. Hopefully they can appreciate them as much as I do. But that's kind of where I'm headed. But this has been absolutely amazing. I'm obviously a big fan of the show, so it's so cool to just talk to you guys. Like, I was really nervous when I first got on here, but as time went on, I feel like I'm just hanging out with the guys now, and it's just cool. You guys have been really nice to me. You've definitely given me some reassurance on a lot of the stuff I've been stressing out about. So yeah, I just want to say thank you for everything. Thanks to the chat too. Everyone's been really nice. And yeah, Absolutely. It was a great night. I appreciate it.
Good. Well, yeah, Situational says, good job, Jace. So very nice. Luke says that last comment by Jace was the highlight of the night. So yeah, man, listen, thanks for coming on. We'll be in touch. I'll see you soon. Have a great, feel free to watch the rest of the show, but it's been great having you. And we're going to get on to what we do in the last segments here. So thank you for joining. And oh, look at this. Chris C, excellent comment, Jace. Midlife, great job, Jay. So build a generational collection, says Hydro Honda. Good advice too. I don't know what this means, but Wando Franco Super Collector says Jace swipe right. Don't know what he. I mean, I understand the reference. I don't know how it applies, but we'll share it. All right, Jace, take care, buddy. We'll see you again.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
All right, buddy.
You too.
All right. Thanks to Jay. I just want to. Greg just texted me a picture of a vintage Captain Hook card. I got to tell you, I kind of think it's awesome. Actually, that's a beauty. That's really good. And it's a full body shot. Like, come on, in action.
Are those tights? Does he have tights on?
Yeah, of course. He's a pirate. He's got long stockings on.
Captain Hook is iconic.
I didn't know Greg was into tights.
Captain Hook is iconic. Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's a beautiful card. I'm now that's on my want list too. Sorry, David.
I like it too.
Think about this. We're talking about identity. Sorry, David. Let me wait. Go ahead.
Good. I was just going to ask one more question to annoy Jeremy. That is the Grail card that you're keeping from us? Is this a potential Grail for the National that you're thinking of picking up, or prior to the National? What's your thought?
Both. I don't know that I couldn't find one on eBay or Fanatics Collect or Auction Wire. I've checked all three. Auction Wire covers all three of them, but I've checked eBay, I've checked Fanatics Collect, I've checked Auction Wire, which covers like 20 auction houses, and I could not find a single copy of the card on any of those. Now, Auction Wire is bringing on all these auction houses that may not have an auction right now. So, but it's in my saved search over there. So, yeah. By the way, Auction Wire is a sponsor of the show. Check out Auction Wire, code SCL for 60 days of free service. But yeah, no, fair questions, David. LGJ says, I won't find it at the National. I might not. And that's sort of scary because I'd really like to find it eventually. Chris here said, appreciate all of you, but there is no right or wrong. Although today that might not be as accurate as it should be. Yeah, I kind of agree. There really is no right or wrong in collecting. There's just collect for yourself, collect and be happy. I mean, this is meant to be a hobby. It's not a hobby for everybody, but it is meant to be a hobby. It's a lifestyle for me. It's not a hobby. It's more than a hobby. It's everything for me. So oh gosh. Okay. I feel like we're
ready for a Hoj question.
See, Joe and I complete each other's sentences now, if you haven't noticed. Yeah, we are, unless Josh, Joe, David, or Chris has anything else that you guys want to talk about something else. Otherwise, I'm open to Hoj introducing a topic that none of us are going to see coming, or at least aren't prepared for. Hoj, are you in that position right now to deliver something? Is there something on your mind?
Yeah, well, there was one comment about the pirate card, right? So Greg is like putting on a case study for how to sort of build an identity around a card, and like doing it tongue in cheek in a fun manner, but also like, if I'm at the National and I see an 1888 N19 pirate card, I'm going to take a picture and I'm going to show it to him. And what if I like stumble into like this great one that he wanted, like, I don't know anything about pirate cards, but it's a great example of like Greg's doing it lighthearted, having fun, but also actually putting it out there, and when you put it out there more functionally, and like, and not like just like wearing a sign on your forehead that says I want pirate cards, but like actually just showing off pirate cards and discussing them earnestly, that can really build a genuine identity around the pirate card. So Greg is like a living, walking example of it. I don't know if anybody wanted to say anything.
Yeah, I one sec, Joe. I just want to say that like, the pirate cards are not. It's not even like he went out and did it on purpose, sort of thing. Like he's collecting pirate cards for pure joy and because he likes how they look. That's why he's collecting. And I saw it because we talked here on the show about pirate cards and about, pirates were murderers. They made people walk the plank and get eaten by sharks. Like, is that something that we want to collect? And then I don't know if he responded to that directly, but he talked about like that thought pattern. And it just comes down to collecting something that you like the looks of, that is fun to collect, and not getting too deep into what these guys might have done. Like, in a way, it's like, who cares? Those times are long ago. And I'm not saying that it was good to do some of the things that people like that they did, but times were different. And that's just, he likes the looks of them. They're artistic. And I think that that's kind of pretty cool. And I just want one, I'm not going to go for the set. I'm not going to become a pirate card collector. I want one. And part of the reason why I want one is it'll always remind me of 2026 and my buddy Greg and pirate cards. It's just there are cards that I would not own or allow into my home for certain reasons. Not going to get into that tonight, but pirates are not among them. A pirate card is welcome into my home. So, Joe, you want to jump in?
I did, but you kind of threw a curveball there because in the sense that you opened up the part about that other part of the show, and I just would direct people to Greg's. He did a really interesting episode where he did the sort of thought experiment of, all variations of the players and or human beings that we might collect, and kind of how to reckon that. I found that to be a really deep show that left me, just kind of thinking about stuff. But what I was going to say was, not only is, Greg into pirate cards, but I would say he's very attuned to the market in that microclimate. And I've actually put in some not insignificant bids attempting to win, let us say, an Edward Teach, otherwise known as Blackbeard card. And there are some dedicated pirate card collectors. Like, it's not just Greg. There are some people out there that are trying to complete these sets. And so I've seen Greg's competitive streak because he's seen the pop count and he's kind of done the reckoning. And he's talked about like what he might do to get the highest graded Edward Teach, otherwise known as Blackbeard card. And I don't know if we can call it a rookie card, but that issue. And so he does have an authentic, genuine, sincere excitement, and he's incredibly tuned in. Like, if you want to talk to Greg about certain cards that he has on his watch list, he's got like, this is how long this card will last. There's going to be, about 24 hours where you can get this card. And they're cards that I have no familiarity with whatsoever. They're like, non-sports cards. And so I find that kind of interesting. And I think that's a part of the hobby that's continuing to emerge.
And, during that long pause I had before, I actually I had a thought and then it escaped me. So I pivoted and went to another thought, but it's come back to me. And Joe, you just tapped into it. That thought was that Greg's also now the expert, or if anyone out there is interested, you're going to take your questions to him, whether he's the expert or not, whether he thinks he's an expert or not, or he is an expert or not. He's now the expert. At least he's my expert. He's David. He's all of our, right? Any of us have any questions on pirate cards, we're going to go to Greg on that. So that ties into the whole identity thing, and how building an identity can help you forming an identity. Talking about your passion can make you an expert and can help you build your community. And that depends on the kind of personality you have, might enhance your overall hobby experience as well. Okay, Hoj, what do you got for us? Yeah, sorry, as you're swigging your drink there.
We're ready. We're ready to go here. Okay. So I'm going to steal a question that somebody sent into the crossover last night, and that person was Neil's Sports Cards. And I think it's very topical, and I think all of us have a vantage point on this. Whether it's a strong one or not is up for grabs, but I think it impacts us all in some way. The question from Neil, if I could distill it down to a little bit briefer than the paragraph that he sent, is basically, how do you feel as a collector or a dealer or a participant in this collecting market, however you might participate, when the shiny new toy, whether it's Otani or Wembanyama or whatever, how do you feel when that player, when their cards start taking up all the oxygen in the room, in the content space, but also on the auction results, and also, on social media as people share their collections and as people put forth opinions, and when you turn on the TV and you watch ESPN, or you're talking sports with your friends and family, that these are the hot topics that I think, like, just to give an example, I think if you're a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar collector and somebody says, man, did you see Wemby score 40 points and grab 20 rebounds? And you're like, yeah, my guy did that, or things on par with that, probably dozens of times in playoff games. You're impressed with that one game. Kareem has 6 MVPs. He has the most MVPs in NBA history. Like, would you like to go back and forth here? So the Neil's question was coming from a point of view, because I asked him to clarify it to me a little bit. He was coming from the point of view of he's collecting stuff. There used to be more momentum and excitement around some of the stuff he was collecting, and now, at least temporarily, it's focused in other places. And so the topic is, you as a collector, How do you feel about that? That was the nature of his question. Just talk about how you feel about it. There's no right or wrong way to feel about it. Just how do you feel about that?
I think it's a fun question. It's for me, the answer came immediately, Chris. That's what I was doing. That's why I was raising the roof. It's like, I love it. I love it. I love it because of what Luke Browning says in the chat. He says, if it isn't something I'm going after, I love it. Takes the interest off my search. Exactly. It's like in hockey right now. You mentioned, Chris, Wemby and Shohei. Well, in hockey, there's this guy called Celebrini, who Joe's very familiar with because he plays for the San Jose Sharks. Celebrini is an amazing player, and all the attention's on his cards. Well, I love that. Not only is the attention on his cards and Shohei's and Wemby's, but the money is on those guys as well. So that just means there's less money going to the cards that I want to buy. So for those reasons, I love it. But that's just as a collector. If we're talking about the GOAT debates out there, and is everybody now saying that Wemby is the GOAT? Is Wemby the greatest basketball player of all time? Is Shohei the greatest baseball player of all time? I mean, Shohei certainly has an art. And Chris, you guys talked about this on the crossover last night, which I think let's see. I either listened to it last night after I was chatting with Joe or this morning. Anyway, you made some good arguments as to why Shohei certainly has a claim to that, but Wemby's not even close. And I think you nailed the arguments. So if people are upset that people are not talking about their guy as much, like even think of LeBron versus Michael Jordan. A lot of people talked about LeBron for a long time. I think the Jordan collectors liked it maybe because less money going into Jordan, but they didn't like it because they didn't want people to think that LeBron's better than Jordan. So it really depends what your motivation is. Is it to buy more cards of the players not being talked about or not? But those are my thoughts. It came pretty quickly, even though it took me longer to say them than it did to think them. So who wants to go next? Joe, David, Josh, anyone have any thoughts on Chris's question? Joe?
I can go real quick. I mean, I'm horrible about that. I'm very competitive. I'm very defensive. If somebody's going to challenge Steph Curry, I'm incredibly emotional and riled up easily. And even cards that I don't collect, like if it doesn't seem fair to me, an assessment that the media is, gushing over somebody that, to me hasn't earned it. So I guess I'm a victim. I'm an emotional and somewhat loyal collector in that regard.
And you but that's also that is how you approach the hobby. When it comes to modern, because Joe collects modern and vintage, but when it comes to modern especially, you collect players that you love, that you want to watch play the sport, but also in your backyard, being Steph being one of your main guys. So that's very natural and normal. What do you think, Josh? Oh, sorry, Joe, you want to come back on that?
Add on to that. I mean, I do think this question invites sort of like what lane you're in. If you're in a truly vintage lane, it's still relevant because there's always newcomers, right? And there's always like the challenger of the record or the person that's stepping in. I'm also a massive Jerry Rice fan. And so like when somebody's suddenly compared to Jerry Rice, I'm like, okay, you might need to get in line here and actually, think about what you're saying. Let's look at the stats or the film or however you want to approach it. So yeah, I think it's an interesting question. Like if you're in the vintage lane, there's someone coming after you that's in the modern world. If you're kind of in the middle, like the 90s lane, similarly, like you have to kind of extrapolate, they were playing against plumbers, but 90s people weren't playing against plumbers. I mean, they're Michael Jordan was in the 90s. So athleticism and all that. And then you get into the modern, ultra modern stuff. It's a really interesting conversation, I think, because you have to look at what lens are you looking through.
Yeah, fair. Josh?
So I think this answer can go in like 4 or 5 different directions. My gut reaction is what Chris C said, is that I don't buy anything that's hyped. All my PC guys are dead or retired, and that's me. Like I've never seen Wemby play one game. I've never heard anyone talk about him, so I don't really pay attention because it's not my area of collecting. So like you can talk all you want about whoever you want. It doesn't really affect how I collect cards. So that's kind of the way I look at it. But like Chris said on the show last night, like you could also sparks a debate about like, oh yeah, like this guy had a good game last night, but MJ did it like for 11 years straight, or Hakeem. I think you mentioned Hakeem too. Hakeem was one of probably the most underrated center in the league for a very long time. So I don't know. Is Wemby's a center, right? He's like 7'10" or something. He's a big kid, right? Yeah. Like I've never seen him play, so I don't know, but I know he's tall.
I think a lot of people have, like even in the chat, I think I've seen two other people say, well, you mentioned Chris C. LGJ here says, good point, Josh. My PC is retired or dead also. Hydro Honda. Facts, Josh. Yeah, so you're speaking a lot of people's language there. And yeah, Chris, the other Chris here says, I do not waste my money on these guys. So there you go.
I don't know if it's a waste of money. Sorry.
Look at this comment. It says, watching Wemby compelled me to collect his cards. That's from Not Yelia Williams. And I mean, that's fair. Watching him compelled me to collect his cards. Like that's kind of maybe how it should work in terms of living and current players. But I say should very carefully there. And I don't really want to, project any sort of a direction onto how to collect. So, but I think that does make sense. David, did you weigh in yet on this?
No, I mean, I also collect vintage, so it's a little different. I understand, Joe, what you were saying, but when I was younger, I didn't really love always what my friends liked and what was always around me. I grew up in Southern California where everybody was an Angel fan. Wally Joyner was the big thing. I became an A's fan just because I was the only one that I knew that was like an A's fan. And I loved the Jose Canseco rated rookie, which probably around the world was more popular, but around my circle, it was less. And same thing with basketball. Michael Jordan was everything. Everybody wishes that they were Jordan. I didn't really have a team for a little while. And then 1990 came out and the David Robinson jersey card came out. I loved that card. It made me start rooting for the Spurs. And then when I was playing basketball with my friends, well, one was Jordan and one was Sean Kemp and, I was David Robinson. So I didn't always love to go with what was popular at the time, even during that time either. I think it's kind of fun to find your own lane and, but at the same time, vintage, I don't think anybody gets more talk these days than Jackie Robinson, and he's probably one of my top people. So at the same time, I love talking about him and I love hearing about him. So I guess we can be in lots of different versions of that.
How do you feel about when our buddy Tony over at Southern Collector talks a lot about Larry Doby and the impact that he had on like the color barrier, maybe not being first, but being second. Campanella was the second guy to play, the second colored player to play for the Dodgers and was going to be the first until Branch Rickey decided to go with Jackie instead, which is something I just researched and learned. So David, how do you feel? Do you feel that Jackie's being attacked when there's and I'm saying this tongue in cheek, but do you feel that Jackie's being attacked when there's a tension going on Doby or Campy or anybody else?
Oh, I want to fight Tony whenever he mentions anything like that. No, I actually agree with him. I love Larry Doby is also one of those people that I kind of am rooting for what Tony is saying at the same time. Satchel Paige, another person that really helps with the color barrier. No, I don't really care when somebody tries to say somebody else ahead of my players that I love. It really doesn't affect me negatively. I actually like to hear everybody's opinions and it kind of shapes my version of it. And I loved Larry Doby, but I think I love him even more since I've seen some videos from Tony. It really helps me formulate my opinions by hearing other people's perspective.
Yeah. So Chris, we've gone through the topic. We've gone around the horn here. Any closing comments before we go to some chat comments?
Yeah. First, if I could synthesize some of what I've taken away from what you guys have said and turn it back to Neil, who has now provided great content for 2 live hobby shows through one question. It sounds like there is something comforting about knowing that all of us as collectors, we're collecting in our silos and we're just head down doing our thing. And like we see other stuff happening too, and maybe we'll dabble here. Maybe we'll, a player comes along and we launch head first into collecting them. But for the most part, collectors are just plodding along and collecting. And we don't really get knocked off our spot very easily or very often. And even if something, the player that you love isn't the hot topic right now, or they're not, dominating the headlines, it doesn't mean that people have stopped caring about them or stopped collecting them. It just means that maybe they're doing it more quietly, or maybe just the trendiness of it has been replaced by something a little more stable and consistent. And so I think that's fun. And I think also, like, you never know when somebody's going to become relevant again. All of a sudden, Kareem and Hakeem and guys like that are like really relevant because Wemby, Babe Ruth, his name's probably been uttered more times thanks to Ohtani comparisons in the last few years than it had for the 40 years prior on a per day or per conversation basis. So, and then this is what I wanted to sort of throw to the panel to wrap up the topic. And if, people want to take a stab at it, great. If not, that's fine too. David was alluding to this a little bit. I think, Jeremy, you alluded to it a little bit too. What about the other side of this? What about when you are collecting Jackie and he is the hot topic? Or what about when you are collecting Michael Jordan inserts and they are all the rage and their market is doubling and tripling? Or what about Joe when you're collecting Steph Curry and he wins his 4th championship? What about that? What about, when Curry was going towards that 4th championship, I went out and picked up my first Curry card, and I've subsequently moved on from it, as Joe knows, but I went and I got it. And, that can be weird, like seeing your collecting friends like, oh, now you're picking up a Curry card, So what about when you're actually riding the wave? What about when we flip this thing and say, what about when you're on that side?
Yeah, good question. I'm really it's it's great for the cards you already have, but it's really difficult for the ones you don't have yet. So that's my quick answer. Josh?
I hate it because then all the cards get more expensive and you can't buy them. Like, there's someone, I don't know who it is, and if I did, I'm not going to give him any breath, but he's on Instagram and he's pumping Frank Thomas cards, and it's terrible because now they're all getting expensive and I can't buy them. And MJ stuff is unattainable now. I haven't bought an MJ in months. It's terrible.
That's the thing, Chris, and it's a great way. It's a great thing to think about. But I think I've experienced it. I know I've experienced it, and it's not only on the player; it might be on the set too. If some of your foresight comes to fruition and you are onto a trend before it happens, by trend I just mean more and more people going after these cards, and then it's like, well, I'm glad I got what I did. And then sometimes you're actually met with the dilemma of, is the money now too big to ignore? Do I sell these cards, or do because I can't, I'm probably not going to buy more. If I'm not going to buy more, why am I keeping the ones I have? And I mean, when I was on, I think it was when I was just on with Brett on Stacking Slabs, which I think drops on Monday, but I was on a recent show, and someone asked me, I was talking about a card I have that I was ahead of the curve on, to the tune of like 200x return potential, and I didn't sell the card. And they asked me, why didn't you take that offer? And I said, greed. I thought I could maybe get more money, but it wasn't. I kind of misspoke. It wasn't just greed. It was like, I love the damn card. I love the damn card. I want to hold it. I love it so much. I think maybe it's going to be worth 5 times what you're offering me right now one day. And then I'll make that decision at that time. So there's all sorts of ways to look at this, I suppose. But yeah, Josh.
Yeah, but I was kind of, your answer went a different way. I'd say I wouldn't sell it for that because you can't get it back. You're never going to get it back again.
That's just it. You can't get it back. Right.
I don't care if it goes up anymore. I just don't want to. I don't want to lose the opportunity to own the card that I.
But when so for me, someone made me an offer of like, I don't want to say life-changing money, but I mean like significant money for me, like a year's worth of income or more, and that's a lot of dough, right? And I just kind of said, nah, I'm good, and now if I were to get offered that same amount of money now for that card, would I take it? I'm probably more likely to take it now because I don't have as much belief that it might be worth 5 times that down the road. I might not ever get it back. That's true. I might not ever get it back, but money is still required for life, unfortunately. And So, but I love the card. I'm glad I have it. Probably wouldn't sell it still. I probably still wouldn't sell the card actually, but you know what? That was a bona fide offer that I received and I didn't take it. And now if someone were to make me a bona fide offer on that card in for an amount of money like that, I don't know. I really don't know what I would do. So we'll have to see. But okay, guy. Oh, anyone have anything else to say about this, Joe?
Well, I'll defer to David. Maybe David does, and then I have something to say too.
No, you go, Joe.
Okay. You know, so it's kind of like, is the glass half empty or is the glass half full? Like when the subject, I think we're kind of talking about the subject of a card, right? Like the player, at least to the degree. I mean, there are sometimes cards that garner a certain amount of attention, and then the subject is, you know, always going to be at least some degree important. But my response usually is, why didn't I buy more? Why didn't I more fully trust my instincts earlier and push all in, or at least more in than I did? And so that's the human mind at work, and I'm not proud of it. I try to mitigate that. I try to do the mental health exercises that do not lead me down the road of FOMO. But if I'm being honest, I do sometimes have FOMO when a card of, you know, a particular subject is suddenly, you know, like the Jackie run, like the Dobie run. Like we can look back now and we can say, oh my God, what were we thinking? Kobe was a little different, but MJ, there's certain cards where you just look back and you go, how could we not all just have pushed many, if not all, of our resources? And of course, that's with, you know, a greedy mind. And I try not to collect in a way that's purely mercenary, but when it coincides with an actual interest, an actual passion, then I'm especially mad at myself if I didn't do more than I could have at the time where the opportunity was there.
Okay. Go ahead, David and Joe. I'm sorry I was distracted, so I wasn't absorbing all that. There's a really good comment that Skeppy put in. I think it's the latest comment, and I actually am like typing it up because I want to save it for another time. I think it's got so much meat on the bone. Let's go to you, David.
I was just saying, I agree with you, Joe, about that. Like I'm always thinking that I should have bought more on cards that I believed in already, but I didn't believe in them enough. Right. I totally agree with you on that. And Michael Jordan and Jackie are still riding that wave right now. Right. They seem like every sale they are going up. And that's why it's hard for me to let some of them go. Right. I actually have a couple of certain Jackie cards, and I don't want to get rid of them at this point, and they're still going up. And I'm kind of greedy the way that Jeremy was saying that he was greedy, right? But until they plateau and maybe drop, it's going to be hard for me to let them go. And I don't usually need more than one copy of certain cards, but I have put my chips in the middle of the table just a few different times on these kind of things. And I wish I did it more on certain circumstances, just like what you were saying.
Good stuff. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Okay. And I apologize for my distraction there, but that happens here on the show. I'm going to go to some comments because we got some good comments here. Some of them are tapping back into some not this topic, because we have some that are already 40 minutes old. Like this one from Midlife Greg says, when Hoge told me at the National that his last name wasn't Hoge, my head exploded. Alex Hidell here says Hoge coin. We need the Hoge coin. The hobby needs the Hoge coin. LA Collection says, David Chase, a little birdie, says you picked up a beautiful 55 Williams today. Congratulations. And guys, on the hangover, that's kind of where I kind of think we'll do our show and tells for guys on this show. We don't usually do them here. That's a good home for kind of look at what I picked up this week kind of thing. Hydro Honda says YouTube Premium is completely worth it. The amount of time you waste watching commercials can be a couple hours a day. Just pay the premium price. Let's go. Jordan says, what's your time worth? YouTube Premium is a bargain. Also says, my kids love this show. could be just to dance to the intro music also. That's great. Midlife Greg says, Jeremy, please don't buy a pirate card. I'd love to give, in all caps, give you one. Well, Greg, lucky for you, I am currently accepting gifts. So, so thank you very much. That's very generous, my friend. I do appreciate it. Luke Browning says, in terms from the crossover, it allows the zag. And this is going back to the comment or the topic that Chris Hoge presented from the viewer of the crossover about which we were just talking about. And I agree that it does allow the zag. However, zagging implies that you weren't already there. And so it may allow the zag if you're not already, like if the player you're collecting is the one being talked about, then it might motivate you to go somewhere else and find. I think you've done that, Chris. I think Josh has done that. I mean, Josh. Now we're talking about Josh Johnson from the crossover and card ladder, not Joshua Adams. Sorry, Josh Adams. I know caught you off guard there. When Josh Johnson was collecting LeBron religiously, and then kind of got into football quarterbacks or receivers, I should say, and whatever else. Like you zagging away from what you collect because you can't afford it anymore or don't want to spend that money anymore is, I think we all have, I think a lot of people have gone through that. But if you're already collecting other players, it just allows you to focus better on the ones, or put more, focus more on the ones you're already collecting as secondary players. Jim Sholey says, there will never be another Larry Bird. No matter who comes along, his second-year card is awesome and always will be. And Jim, I could not agree more. That card is on my want list. There's plenty out there. I just haven't found the right copy. Skeppy says, this is 20 minutes old. He says, this has happened in all sports of today. We lived through an era of sports from 1970 to 2005 that will never be matched again. We just have to understand today's collector in a different view. Now, at the time, I thought that was a great comment. I just don't know. I'm sorry to the listeners, the viewers. I kind of forget the context of that. Maybe, does anyone have a good insight into that context on this comment from Skeppy? No hands? Okay. Hydro Honda here says, current stars are a good gateway to collecting. I think that's a good point. It really is. They truly are, especially those current stars who are in the hobby on social media, sharing their cards, their activity in the hobby. They are really opening up the gateway. Greg Midlife says, that's crazy, David, because every time I see you, I immediately see you as David Robinson. I was thinking the same thing. I mean, they look alike. Yelia says, nothing excites me more than when the rest of the hobby tries switching into my lane, right? That is a good feeling. And Skeppy, we're going to skip Skeppy's comment because I just want to save that for another time. Okay.
I've got a new nickname for David Chase. The Admiral.
The Admiral. Oh my. So we're going to switch from the most powerful man in hobby content to the Admiral. I'm down for that. I'm sure David would be down with that.
Oh, I mean, I respect David Robinson more than anybody. I mean, it's an honor.
Oh, Luke Browning got a 1981 Larry Bird last year in a PSA 8. I got my Magic at the National last year in a PSA 8, Luke, and you probably I would have bought that Bird if I saw it before you did. I'm looking for that card basically in an 8 slab because of the price point. Joe?
Well, I'm not sure if this is the right moment to ask this, but I had a question for you, Jay Lee.
Sure.
Well, first of all, I thought you and Adam Gray did a tremendous job announcing the premiere the other night, and 5 hours strong, and of course
it was
six, smash burgers and God knows what, monster drinks. I don't know what you do to keep at it there. That's like a triathlon that you guys are doing. But I wondered if there was anything notable about that auction from you as you were covering it so diligently. Did anything stand out to you, or the LeBron X-Fractor, or anything that emerged either trend-wise or singularly that you think was noteworthy?
I mean, no, nothing surprises me anymore. as Adam Gray has said on his Instagram and Twitter recently, just that, football had its first $1 million sale in I think a few years. So he was very congratulatory to the football card community that they crossed that barrier again. The autographed Wayne Gretzky O-Pee-Chee rookie card and a PSA 9 card, 10 on the autograph, sold for $540,000. That does. While I'm not surprised, maybe I am surprised because it does kind of blow me away that it sold for that much. But nothing else really. I got to admit too, Joe, that those shows, when I look back on them, it's a blur to me. We looked at 600 cards in that time. We did our this or that. We were interacting with the chat. We're having our own banter. I think back and because I don't go back and review the auction the next day like Adam does and other content creators do, putting out their pieces of content, reflecting on the evening. So no, I kind of just move on from that day.
What was the Gretzky graded? It was a 10 auto and a 8?
9.
9. Okay. Go ahead, David. Sorry.
Do you remember what I heard you talking for like the first half of the show about the LeBron and how much that was going to go for? Do you remember what that ended up going for?
I do. It sold for $1.26 million for the 2025 LeBron Superfractor Auto 1 of 1.
So what do you think of that, Jay Lee? I mean, you must.
What I think it's a lot of money. I think, but you know what I found even more interesting, Joe, was something Christina said on the crossover last night when she was talking about how the Brady Chrome refractor sold for whatever. Does anyone remember, like $500,000 or whatever it was? And that came up on the crossover, and she made the point that it made so much sense. Oh, because some people are like, why is it a Tampa card? Why wouldn't it be a New England card? Like, why would they do a Tampa card? And Christina nailed it. She said, why? Because if they do New England first, then Tampa's going to sell for a fraction of the price. They do Tampa first, set the standard. Now everyone's going to talk about, well, if the Tampa card's over this, what's the New England card going to sell for? What factor is it going to sell for? And so while I'm not answering your questions of what stuck out to me from the auction, but that stuck out to me from the crossover as a very insightful comment. And I just found myself nodding in agreement, thinking, yeah, well said by Christina, who's a part of the crossover.
A rare Friday night that I missed the crossover. I'm still getting reacclimated to the fact that they're back.
I know.
If they are indeed back. What was the context of that? Because I'm not sure I fully understand what you're saying. Are you saying that?
Oh, so because that is basically that under Tops's new football license, that the first Brady Superfractor that comes out pictures him in a Tampa Bay Buccaneers jersey versus or uniform versus a New England. And then some people were saying, why would they do that? Well, I would have said the same thing. But then you think about, and then Christina shared what she shared. And I thought, well, that just now I get it. And it's like she could see, listen, I don't know if she's right or not, if they thought about that there, but it sounds like she probably had a good insight. No insider information. I'm just saying, I think she could have been a fly in the wall in that marketing strategy meeting back in the day.
It's the slow roll marketing strategy where you get to the next thing. And that, I mean, how does that relate to the LeBron? Or does it?
It doesn't. It just relates to what I take from the auction. And it doesn't relate to the LeBron. Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, it might relate to the LeBron in so much as there will be other X-Fractor LeBrons forthcoming, right? Like we know now that he's aligned with Topps Fanatics and is signing those kinds of cards. That's not going to, right now it's a very singular card. It's a 1 of 1, but it's also the only, I don't know, Hoj can correct me, but maybe the only Topps Chrome 1 of 1 LeBron auto. But wrong, right?
And I mean, and if he retires, it might be his only playing days, or it might be one of 1 or 2 playing days autograph Superfractor 1 of 1s that he has. So could be. But go ahead, David.
So one thing I noticed when I'm watching your Fanatics auction is, man, for the modern collectors, at least on Fanatics, where these are extremely high priced cards. I mean, it's Wemby, it's LeBron, Jordan, Curry, Kobe, Shohei, and Brady. And man, that is such a large percentage of these cards.
Oh my God.
I mean, so like, what is, I mean, is that a good thing? Is that not a good thing? What's your perspective on that 7 or 8 players is, I mean, I feel like it was like 90% of the auction are those players.
Yeah, somebody put in the chat that Shohei was 10% of the auction or more. There were 600 items. Shohei was like the whole, it felt like Shohei was the whole thing. That list that you just gave, they dominate modern auctions. Is that good or bad? I mean, I don't know. I don't know, David. I just think that the younger these players are, the worse the higher the risk. And risk is inherent in the hobby. In the current player world, doesn't matter. Listen, I don't think there's much risk in a Steph Curry. LeBron James has shown that there can be some risk, but I think that's short term. I think 20 years from now, people are going to forget about his off court, shenanigans, what he says, and that. I think people are just going to look back at the track record at that point. So, but yeah, I think it's so. Listen, I think Shohei's pretty good right now. I think there's lower risk in Shohei, but he's not risk free. That is for sure. I think there's risk in a lot of these young players that are in their first, second, and third year, whether it's Wemby or Luke Browning shouts out. You might not have said Judge. Judge is another one who's all over those auctions. But that's a whole other topic, David. It's like, is it good or bad for the hobby that these guys are taking up? Like that list you said is probably 95% of the auction last night that maybe wasn't named, like Babe Ruth and Ty Cobb sort of thing. It's crazy. I actually found I was getting bored every row. Another Shohei, and I felt like it was so much Shohei.
Yeah.
And all of his cards look the same to me for the most part. Like, whereas Kobe cards, I can look at a Kobe and appreciate so many. He's got cards from the 90s and all these flawless and immaculates and NTs that are all nice and somewhat different. But I mean, a guy like Shohei, his menu of cards, I mean, man, it's like Pokemon to me. They're all starting to look the same. So anyone else want to chime in on this, Josh or Chris? I mean, Josh, you're in the auction business. You got a 90s business called 90s Auctions, guys. Check it out, by the way. You've got an auction coming up right away here too with some great cards on it. Why don't you tell people about the auction right now and then your thoughts on it being in that business?
Yeah, auction starts Monday. It's cards of players from the 90s and cards from the 90s. We stay away from modern players or stuff like that. So mostly just focusing on stuff like that from the 90s. So I wasn't prepared to talk about it just now. So I was in like collector mode. So it starts Monday. Check it out. 90sauctions.com. And then what's the question?
No question. Chris, how about you?
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting to empirically answer that. Like, take copy and paste the results from that last premiere, put them into your AI of choice, and ask it to add up how many or which players had the most sales, but give me a whole pie graph, and then also, which players had the most cards in it. And I would be curious to know if perception matches the numbers, or if there's actually something else that's making it feel like these players are super represented. And then when we actually kind of look and we actually get to the brass tacks of it all, maybe they are, maybe they aren't. There's a wide range of players in a given premiere. Like John Elway had a nice 5-figure card that I was really interested in. Kevin Garnett had some nice stuff in there. Cal Ripken had a great card sell. Like, there's a lot of stuff that sort of like composes a 600 plus card auction. And then I would also say, throw out the outliers, like throw out the LeBron and the Josh Allen sales, because like Josh Allen had the big headliner, his card went for like 1.3 million, and LeBron had the 1.2. Throw those two out and narrow in, and I wonder what the numbers would say. I wonder how close our perception, because I have the same perception as you and David, so I wonder how close our perception would be.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Josh?
So our friend that we all know, the tall man, 610 Sports Cards, did a little number crunching, and I didn't do any of this, so I can't take responsibility. May 2025 premiere auction, there were 166 items. Total sales were $6 million. That's average of $36,000 per card. The May one of this year, there was 608 items. Total sales $28 million, and that's an average of 47,000. But Chris is right. You take out those $2 million cards, and the average goes right back down. I think, at the top of my head, it goes down a little. I think to about 40,000. So you're still the same in terms of the average number. But I agree with Chris. I want to see if like that perception is were there just as many Shoheis and Judges. I bet you there were, because Judge had a huge season last year, and Shohei, like, it goes back to Chris's question earlier. Like that controls the hobby now. Shohei, Judge, they're the hot players in baseball. And so
there would have been
more of the cards.
Yeah, there would have been different players that dominated it a year ago, and same with the year before that, or some of the same. But I hear what you're saying. Right. Yeah, it does, and that's really interesting stats there. The other thing I'll say though is if you take out the $2 million sales, the outliers from this May, there were likely a couple of those last May as well. That if you remove them, you're not as close as you think you'd be. You can't really just remove them from one without. I'm not saying there were. I don't know, but there might have been a couple like that last time. Sure. David.
So, Josh, for your 90s auction, is Jordan and Kobe, do they dominate in the same way in your auction?
Yes, absolutely. It's like 70% of the auction, people send in Jordan stuff. So
yeah. Who would be after that?
Jordan, Kobe, Ken Griffey Jr., the top three.
Gretzky, you got a good
Gretzky.
chunk of hockey there. Yeah.
Yeah, we have Gretzky, Yager. We have a ton of Yager this time around. So he's very popular. Jeremy
Yager's
very popular.
I bought a really cool Yager card just the other night on eBay, actually. One that,
Can cool. Can I ask Josh a question? Josh, you know that LeBron card that went for 1.2 million? Mm-hmm. One of the characteristics of it was that LeBron had a new signature that apparently has some sort of image of a crown above his normal part. Do you think that's played into the final sale?
That's a good question. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. People collect his autograph like that, but I mean, it's kind of cool, but I don't know how much that has an effect on it.
I don't think so, Joe, because it's a brand new auto. I think it's the Topps Superfractor 101 new era Topps. I don't think, but it could be.
Did you like LeBron's new auto? I mean,
I don't mind. Whatever. I don't care. I have nothing. It's better than a lot of what we see nowadays, but it's not that.
Do you want to give me your EX credentials, LeBron rookie? Because I'll take that off your hands if you're.
It's not autoed. It's not autoed.
And explain in the auto game. I mean, if this is a new auto, even though it's a different auto, I know that right now, the moment this is new, but I mean, am I wrong? Wouldn't most people like to have an older auto than a newer auto?
I think so. Yeah.
So when he makes a change like that, it's actually probably a negative thing in the long run, right? For those.
Well,
cards.
I think when you say newer versus an older auto, I think the way I took that question is, wouldn't somebody rather have an autograph card that came out like 20 years ago versus this year versus style wise? That's when I said, I don't care. I don't really care about if I'm collecting a player's autograph, I want it to look good, be well placed, but I don't care what version of their autograph I'm getting unless one is really ugly versus the other. And in a lot of cases, the uglier one is from when they were younger in many cases, because, they weren't signing as much back then. And I'm not talking about today's rookies who are signing, right after they're drafted. I mean, like even Wayne Gretzky, his earlier autograph is not nearly as nice as his current autograph. I love his current autograph. I got several of them, but I also have one of his first. I have one of Gretzky's first autographs ever when he was a pro. And to me, that's amazing. Like I think my autographed Gretzky, it's an autographed O-Pee-Chee rookie card. I think my autographed Gretzky rookie is better than the one that sold on Fanatics on Thursday for $540,000. Is it going to get that amount? No, because it's not in a PSA 9 holder. But it's a rookie. It's a rookie. It was signed during his rookie year. And to me, that makes it way better than the one that was signed in that thick Sharpie, probably in 2026. So, but it's not going to be worth nearly that much.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I with LeBron though, I'm not sure because he signed so much in his early years. I mean, in at least licensed products, relatively speaking. And my sense is that he's being a little more selective and certainly more expensive in terms of putting his autograph out there. So time will tell, I guess, is the answer on that one. Like whether or not a later art, I mean, he's only what, 41 years old, but time will tell if that auto, that's the new auto, is something that he gently titrates out there into the market in such a way where it is something that collectors over time start to covet, because there's just far fewer of them than the many different, ultimate, exquisite, all the different issues that he had, even just in his rookie year, with his simple autos. And his autos changed. Kobe's auto changed. I like the Kobe auto with the 8. That was like maybe 3 years he did that, I think, or 4 years, something like that, where there was a window where he added the 8, and then he got a little more.
Sorry, was he gently titrating that in those 3 years?
No, I think he was just going through a phase, his pre 24 phase. But
sorry, you when you said gently titrating, that just had me like I was done. I heard nothing after that. So
it's a chemistry term, but also used in neuroscience for people's medications, like for ADHD and stuff. Educational speak.
Thank you. Yeah, no, good, great stuff. Yeah. Autos. Wow, what a topic. I didn't think.
Well, I know this isn't the auto crowd, really, is it? Like y'all don't collect autos. I love autos. I
bought 4 autos on Sunday night. I love autos. I love auto patches. I don't collect auto. Well, I shouldn't say that. I picked one up at the expo, just an auto card without patches. But yeah, I like autos. But I don't know if David, Josh, and Chris probably not much into the auto world. Are you, Josh?
I don't do in-person auto cards, but I like Upper Deck had some really cool Century autos for baseball players in the late 90s out of 100. Those are awesome. There's a couple Jordan autos I'd like to get from his playing days that are still somewhat down to earth, but I stay away from the in-person auto stuff. But pack pulled autos I think are pretty cool.
Well, so I just alluded to some cards that I bought the other day, and I will share those on an upcoming episode of The Hangover, which hopefully we'll be able to get to that, to our pickups, or even my pickups here when we record on Monday. Right now, we're planning to have myself, Joe, and David Chase on the episode. Chris and Josh, you guys the plan for The Hangover is to record it like Monday or Tuesday during business hours, during the day, around 11 a.m. Pacific or so. So I want to work both of you guys into that show. It's not going to be where you appear every time, but I want to work you guys into that on some sort of rotation. Nothing formal, but just to give you guys the heads up, because it is a sports cards live themed piece of content, but it is exclusive to the Sports Card Clubhouse platform. And you guys are going to be on all the thumbnails anyway, whether you're on the show or not. So we're gonna get you on it.
Just give me a heads up next time you put me in the backseat of a convertible. Otherwise,
yeah, you want to put your hat on to protect that hair. Yeah, no doubt.
That's right. Sunburn.
No doubt.
Right.
All right, guys. Well, listen, let's start to wrap this up. A couple more comments first. Kinger here said, "Hey, Kinger, what's going on? Welcome." Says, noteworthy SP insert of Ohtani, Topps Chrome Alter Ego. The set design narrative adds to its already magical aesthetic. Anyway, this is an Ohtani that does not look like all other Ohtanis, and the Alter Ego and the mangas, I don't hate them. I'll put it to you that way. I kind of like those cards. Someone asked last night, on Thursday night, if the Shohei Alter Ego could ever gain iconic status. And I answered in the affirmative. And I think that's a long time out, but I think it's that unique. I'm not saying it's going to, but I wouldn't be surprised. It depends how many cards they put out like it, or if it just kind of drowns in oversupply of cards like it. Skeppy says, if more gambling information comes out about Shohei, it could end in disaster for collectors that invested a lot into him. Or not, Skeppy, or not. I mean, there's some other prominent hobby targets who have been caught up in gambling that are doing just fine, but you could be right too. Papa Funk says Otis Sistrunk from the Raiders has a beautiful signature, and Chris C calls out Ken Griffey Jr.'s beautiful autograph, which I definitely agree with. Has a very beautiful autograph. as well. Terry Fortune. Hey, what's up, Terry? Long time. Hangover episodes are maximum an hour, and the podcast version will be on the Sports Card Clubhouse podcast platform as well. So there you go.
How hard is that for you, Jeremy, to do anything in an hour? Because you don't have a show that's an hour or less.
It's like David, we had to cut the intro just to get it under an hour. I want it to be under an hour, so we did. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. And with you, me, and Joe, we can all talk, right? So we'll see how it goes when we record that episode on Monday. Chris.
All right. I had AI do what I told you guys somebody should do. I said, well, you know what? Why don't I just do it? And here's the results. And I verified it. Justin's numbers were right. $47,227 per item and 28.7 million spent overall. And then here are the players who are most represented by number of cards. Michael Jordan had 83 of the 608 items. Shohei Ohtani had 64. Kobe had 48. LeBron had 39. Wemby had 30. Messi had 28. Brady 19. Ronaldo 19. Aaron Judge 18. Steph Curry 18. SGA 17. Cooper Flag 15. Mahomes 9. Luka 8. Lamine Yamal 7. Ken Griffey Jr. 6. Tiger Woods 5. Tim Duncan 5. Kevin Garnett 5. And then about a half dozen more guys with fewer than 5. Like Ant-Man had 4. Mickey Mantle had 3. Jackson Dart had 4. Babe Ruth had 3. Jerry Rice had 3.
85 MJs, 64 Shoheis. I would have flipped those numbers based on my feel of the night. I thought Shohei was just everywhere. But MJ, you don't know. I guess he has a better selection, let's say, than Shohei does right now for assortment of cards. Joe?
Well, I mean, I'm curious. Like, I think one way we look at that data is like, where the power of the hobby is. The other way we could look at that data is people putting those cards up for auction, right? Like, which is interesting to me. Like that, like, I don't know. I don't quite know how to interpret that magnitude other than, people are feeling like it's reaching the delta of where they can either feel comfortable letting go of an asset, or it's like gotten above and beyond what they think is appropriate valuation. Like, I don't know. Hoj, do you have any thoughts on like I guess what I'm saying is it's not just perhaps it's a slanted data point that can say a few different things.
Yeah. Certainly can. Certainly up for interpretation. By the way, I just want to add, like, there's a long tail of like people who had like one card in this auction. It's like 50 guys. Like Peyton Manning had 2, Shaq had 2, Larry Bird had 2, Brett Favre had 2, Jalen Brunson had 2, and then a ton of guys. Stockton. So I mean, it's literally like 60, 70 players. I mean, there was probably, I'll ask ChatGPT to give me the exact number. There's probably like over 100 players represented in that auction, I'd say.
I'd be interested to know how many players total were represented. And then I'd like to know who the notable omissions were that we maybe saw more of in the past and are just not seeing them now. And I bet there's a lot of guys like that who have previously had a more significant showing in the auction, especially as you go back further. And especially when it comes to maybe like quarterbacks and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
they're just not showing up.
134 unique athletes or characters, because there was a few TCG guys in there too.
So if you were to then, I mean, quick math, 608 or whatever it was divided by 134 is something like 5.5, an average of 5.5 cards per player that was in there, even though that's not it. But that's interesting. Joe, I think you could probably go in so many different directions what that means and why people are selling Shoheis. Like, as much as people are buying them, people are willing to sell them. As many people that are willing to invest in Shohei, that many people are willing to liquidate Shohei. So as many people feel that he may be peaking, also feel that there may be more room for him because at this point, I don't know how much we're talking to collectors and how much we're talking to investors that are in there buying these cards at that money. And that's why I'm talking about the financial angle. But it's interesting stuff, absolutely, for sure.
Here's some notable omissions, Jeremy, real briefly, since you asked. Caitlin Clark.
Oh, wow. Huge.
No Caitlin Clark. Some other notable absences. Lamar Jackson was not present. Sandy Koufax was not included. There's some other guys. I mean, I don't know. Caitlin Clark was the one that really jumped out.
What was the total? Was it 28.2 million total?
28.7, I think.
28, because the title of that episode of the, I mean, we're talking about the auction, but the Sports Cards Live premiere coverage, I titled it $10 million plus night. I'm going to go retitle that as $25 million plus night now, because that's I was really light at that, but you just never really know.
Well, and I wonder, I mean, Caitlin had an injury, right? Like, I mean, I wonder how much that's
more telling than the rest of it, is that what you just said, Joe. Sorry to jump in, but Caitlin had an injury. That might be why people weren't selling her, right? Because she's in that could be it. Like, the omissions are as telling as a guy having 65 cards in the auction, or as interesting, I would say, maybe not as telling. So, but I do want to wrap up, Joe. So unless there's a final comment you have on that. Oh, David, please go ahead.
This is probably, you probably don't want to start this, but Shohei, while he's right now in the middle of his peak performance, and I don't know how much more he can do. When Brady won his last Super Bowl with Tampa Bay, are his cards much more expensive now, or was that his peak of card collecting and price, do you think? I'm just wondering, like, Shohei in 10 years from now, is there that much room to grow? Where I feel like when Brady peaked in Tampa Bay, man, I remember his cards went crazy during that time. I don't know if his cards are even at those prices anymore. Do you have any idea on that?
I'm not watching the overall trend, so no, I don't know. I do think that, after the World Series, the MVP last year, that and of course being on the Dodgers, I mean, that whole move, these things all just help so much, right? So I think it has an impact. I don't know how strong it is though. Okay, I think we're good. What Chris C says, I had a super chat earlier. Sorry, Chris. I'm scrolling looking for. Oh, there it is. Oh, I think I have that. Sorry, I think I have a few comments. No, I don't. Somehow I missed that, Chris. I apologize. He says, I like Wemby, but NBA now is way different. They had to add a rule to have players play at least 65 games to qualify to win MVP, to quote Kobe Soft. Yeah, Chris, I did see this comment and I really liked it. They come up different for me, the super chats. They come up in color like they do on the screen, to the point where I can't tell if I've started or not. So I apologize, and thank you for the contribution, by the way. But I just want to mention that I heard Wemby talking about this the other day, and he kind of thought it was a joke too. It seemed like he thought the number should be 75. I think that's a quote that Wemby said. It's like, it should be 75. Like, this is silly. So I'm with you. I'm not a basketball expert, but I know that Joe and Chris both are. Joe, you're leaning in with some enthusiasm. Do you have anything to say about this?
I think if we can trust the writers, it's very complicated. I don't know if I can say anything in one sentence. I'm dubious that the current rule is actually helpful in the big picture. I'll just leave it at that.
Chris, do you want to chime in on this? Chris sees super chat.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot to say about it. I don't think it's had any deleterious effects for the most part so far. This year, they already were granting several exceptions to people who had like paternity leave and stuff to like come in and still qualify for coming in under 65. And it's like, yeah, I don't know. What do we like? I think it was symbolic. It was just the NBA trying to say, look, we're trying to force these guys to play more games. And I don't think it had much substance to it. And I think the voters should, why are we hamstringing them? Like, should they be able to figure out a player's value, whether they played 64 or 66 games?
I like the way that Chris ended it, just saying, to quote Kobe, soft. Like, I don't know. I understand. I understand load management, but the biggest issue I have with it is the fans that are going to one game. You know, I went to one Laker game in the past 50 years, and LeBron sat. You know, now granted, had he played, I wouldn't have known anyway. I was not really watching and couldn't see it anyway. We were so high up, but it would have been cool to be able to say I've seen LeBron James play. At least I would have put eyes on him, but it wouldn't have changed my experience at all. So that, but for the young kid or the person who saves up to go to one game and that player, their favorite player, doesn't play when, you know, back in the day they played all the games. I'm not a fan of that, but times have changed, guys. Don't save up your money to go. If you're a big fan, don't go to the game. Don't save up to go because you're not guaranteed to see your player. Thanks again, Chris C, for the super chat. Anyone else have any more comments before we wrap this up? Joe?
Just real quick on David Chase's question. I can't probably make this be seen on the thing, but I did a player search for Tom Brady, and you get the old sort of FU finger here, but it's up. It's gone way up, the Brady. It's come way down, and then it's about close to halfway back to where it was at peak prices. So that's like responding to what you were saying about Brady, and it seems to be rising with, you know, probably all goats rising.
Was peak pricing his Super Bowl win in Tampa?
Looks to be about 2 years ago or 3 years ago.
So it was after he retired.
Yeah, maybe it was that retirement moment. I'm not exactly sure, but anyway, up and down and back up.
All right, guys. Listen, everybody. Thank you for joining. Thank you to the chat. Thank you to Jace, Ace of Grades 28 on Instagram as our featured guest earlier tonight. Joe, Chris, Josh, David. Thank you to you guys as always. I will be back on the channel tomorrow night for the Fanatics Collect Weekly auction ending watch party. We're going to get into some cards, do some deep dives into conditions. Miller and Miller show coming up on Tuesday. That's going to be great. We're going to deep dive into some cards there. They have some big I almost swore. They have some big arse cards on there. It's going to be a lot of fun. So come and join me for that. Okay, guys, come on, cut me some slack. You know, every once in a while I slip up. And we'll be back next week for Sports Cards Live as well. The Hangover on the Sports Card Clubhouse Network will be joining us. If you're not yet on the hobby spectrum, if you're not yet taking the assessment, go there, do that. Cool features coming to that as well. Pops and Comps available on Amazon. Anyone else want to shout anything out? 90s Auctions is starting on Monday, 90sauctions.com. Yep.
Monday at noon. Yep.
Monday at noon. Card Ladder, if you're not joined up yet, join Card Ladder. Affiliate link in the description below. Follow us all on Instagram. That's all I can think of, guys. Anyone having we're good. All right. That's it. It's time for the ritualistic ending of the show. Thank you all. Thank you, chat. Thank you, Jace. And here on May the 23rd, 2026, this episode of Sports Cards Live is now
OVER over.
And with that, good night, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in and being a part of the Sports Cards Live community. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and most of all, keep collecting. More great content to come. Sports Cards is a lifestyle.